The undead are beings that never truly die, and for them, creatures like immortals who escape the life and death cycle, taking over a small dimension wouldn't be much of a challenge. Conquering the place known as planet Earth was just a matter of time, or at least, that's what they thought. The big skeleton points, demanding to know how that could be possible. He was just an ordinary human, so how? How was he still alive? The protagonist steps out from the flames and says he'll explain. It's probably because he's tougher than they are, and with that, bam, he slams a punch right into the skeleton's chest. But before we get to that, let's rewind to 2 years earlier. Someone inside a room says they can't take it anymore. She says she let him stay for a while because he said he was going to look for a job, but instead he spends all day playing video games and drinking. If he was going to live like that, then he might as well go back to his parents' house. Our flush-faced protagonist tries to explain that going back to his parents at his age isn't an option. But the girl says it's even worse that he's relying on his younger sister. He walks into the room without saying anything while she keeps going, saying he should at least use that little allowance he gets to go job hunting and stop being a burden. The guy just shuts the door, takes a deep breath as he listens to her going off. He flops onto the bed and tells himself Kang Hyun is pathetic. Why was he living like this? The only thing he'd managed to do since coming to Seoul was land a 1-week gig at a big company. Then he got fired. At this point, even a part-time job moving boxes would be something, just to earn a bit of money. He notices the computer's still on and mumbles that life would be way easier if it worked like a video game. At least in games he was good, and it'd be easy to get a decent job. He'd get to choose between being a warrior, a swordsman, and in the middle of all that daydreaming, he dozes off. Out of nowhere, a bunch of system windows pop up. A connection to a dimension called Haken is detected. While our boy is still snoozing, the message says the connection has been temporarily denied and that the tutorial will begin on Earth. Kang opens his eyes, and when he looks around, he finds himself floating in some kind of void. And right in front of his eyes are those little words just hanging in the air. The message says that full connection to the Haken dimension will take 4 years and 364 days. Then it welcomes Kang Hyun to the tutorial. There would be a total of 8 stages, and this was just the first. Dying there wouldn't affect reality, but at the same time, if he gave up or failed, there'd be no second chances. And whoever finished the tutorial would get an awakening and a bonus reward. You could call the FBI on this guy seriously. The first thing he imagines is some level 98 loli calling him to connect. And the idiot actually blushes, realizing his gaming addiction is really starting to mess with his brain. Only in that moment he kind of wakes up to reality, which, well, isn't really reality, right? Because now he's convinced this is a dream. Poor guy has no idea that none of this is a dream, or actually is it? Now I'm confused too. Anyway, he starts getting transported to stage 1, and the system wishes him good luck, hoping he can save Earth. He's standing there, confused, like, what is this about saving the Earth? The final message just says that once he reaches the destination, they'll have to cross to the other side of the bridge. Failure condition, death. Before he can even figure out what bridge they're talking about, boom, he's teleported, and you can see the reflection of flames in his eyes. That's because, my friend, he just landed in a full-on Murbast challenge. But yeah, dropped right into lava and died on the spot. He looks around trying to understand what's going on and whether that was really lava. The heat, though, was very real. Looking around, he sees a bunch of people and tries to figure out what's happening. He's sure he was just at home. While he's thinking this dream is ridiculous, someone calls out his name. And bam, it's the same girl who just finished chewing him out earlier. Our boy is Kang Hyun and she's Kang Ayin. Korea, and it's amazing naming choices. He wants to know what the hell she's doing there. In the very first dream he's had this year, it's ridiculous. She snaps back that he's not the one who decides that. At the same time, though, she's asking herself if this really is a dream. She saw a bunch of messages talking about saving Earth or something like that. Kang calls her name and says, Kang Ayin, stop pretending this is your dream, girl, because it's mine. She replies that that's not the point. Also, the lava wouldn't be that hot if this were a dream. How could a conversation this normal be happening in someone's dream? Nothing makes sense. He laughs and says the brain is easy to trick. Nobody ever really knows if a dream is real or not. Besides, you can feel pain in dreams. Anyone who says you can is lying. For example, he's had plenty of dreams where he peed himself but woke up completely dry. His sister congratulates him on having the guts to say something like that out loud. He just brushes it off and starts walking, saying he's heading out. She asks where he thinks he's going. He says it's obvious. He's going to cross to the other side of the bridge, just like the challenge said. Of course, since this is his dream, an NPC like her wouldn't know about it. She roasts him, saying she does know actually. And also, he needs to stop calling her that. This is her dream. What really surprises her, though, is that he's not even scared of falling and dying. He says she's being dumb. If he dies, he'll just wake up. But right in the middle of the sentence, a body flies between them. When he looks down, oh boy, the guy falls, starts melting, writhing in pain, and both of them are shaking just watching it. The smell of burning flesh hits them, and she asks what he was saying again. Now they're both trembling. He says that scream sounded really realistic, but he's not scared. Not at all. His sister sighs and says he really is an idiot. He better crouch down and crawl. It's way safer that way. He's standing there pretending not to be scared, but a few minutes later, everyone else is moving forward and the two of them are crawling right along. On the way, she asks what he thinks is going on. Do you have any idea? He says he's sure it's just a super realistic nightmare. to which she tells him to wake up and get real. There's no way a dream or nightmare could feel this real. Something was happening that they couldn't even begin to understand. And maybe, if they died here, they really would die in real life. Kang laughs and says, "Girl, I'm trying not to think about it, but you keep talking and now I'm scared out of my mind." She sees right through him. The bastard was just pretending to be calm. He's totally useless. He collapses face first and asks if they can stop for a second so he can rest. Not because he's shaking and afraid of dying. No, of course not. It's just that he's tired, that's all. She asks if he plans to just lie there like an idiot, and he tells her she needs to understand. There was still a small chance this was just a dream, until that little cistern window popped up in front of them again. The set time for the tutorial had run out, and because of that, the difficulty was going to increase. Suddenly, the whole place starts to shake. I'm honestly impressed some people were still standing there like it was nothing. But to be fair, that bridge isn't that narrow, right? You could fit both feet side by side, legs spread a bit. I'd be fine crossing it. Just don't put me there, please. Anyway, the part of the bridge behind Kang starts crumbling. Everyone's bridges are breaking apart now. It's chaos. No way around it. Seriously, Aehyun, that girl, shot up and turned into Usain Bolt, left behind nothing but a blur. Our boy didn't have much choice, so he had to do the same. He's running and thinking he's okay. The bridge wasn't even that thin to begin with. As long as he doesn't trip, he'll reach the end just fine. Just focus on the ground and look straight ahead. I feel like I'm watching Squid Game here. He's almost at the exit. He can see it on the other side. He's already celebrating, thinking this is about to be over. But then he glances to the side, and the bridge beneath his sister is starting to collapse. He calls out to her, she looks down, but it's already too late. Still, the guy's got that Chad energy. He'd been scared this whole time, but now the courage kicks in. He jumps across, grabs her, and throws himself to the other side with her in his arms. He saved the girl. Right after that, a message pops up saying they leveled up and cleared the first stage. They would be temporarily awakened as a reward, though their full awakening would only happen once the tutorial was over. Kang Hyun stretches and says it's finally over. He could barely move from the fear. Meanwhile, his sister is more interested in this whole awakening tutorial. What even is all this thing? He tells her she should be thanking the guy who saved her, honestly. But she ignores that, distracted by a status window popping up. Kang says a status window is the #1 thing anyone would want to receive on their birthday. Gamer instinct stronger than fear. He jumps right up to check it out. I can already see there's a resurrection trait or something, but no abilities, no skills, and the stats don't look very high either. And before we get to see the rest, boom, he wakes up in the same old bedroom. Looks like it's the next day, and now he's convinced it was all a dream. But of course, the internet is blowing up with talk about this strange dream. Some people saying it was the weirdest lucid dream they've ever had. Others talking about how real the sensation of dying felt. Naturally, with so many people sharing the same story, everyone's weirded out. Humans being humans, though, they're already having fun with it. Throwing out hashtags, launching meme coins, and honestly, that's probably exactly what would happen if something like this were real. What they're forgetting is that the full connection is still 5 years away. Back with our guy, he opens the door and immediately starts arguing with his sister. They're both talking over each other, going on about the status window, the challenge, who died, who didn't. She yells at him to shut up, he tells her the same. They both end up exhausted and quiet, then wonder if maybe he should just eat first. Meanwhile, social media is in a frenzy. End of the world, shared dreams, lucid nightmare. What the hell just happened? The two siblings hear all of this, and now they know for sure it wasn't just them. This thing happened all over the world. Kang says at least it's a relief that dying in the dream didn't affect anyone in real life, but she says it was terrifying either way. Watching those people, carts and all, die and burn right in front of her was too much. At the very least, anyone who died like that must be traumatized now. She's wondering if it's even okay for them to just sit there, eating so casually. It felt like the whole world was losing its mind. Kang thinks for a moment and says there's not much else they can do. That's when he hears screaming from outside, so he decides to go check it out. When he looks out the window, there's a crowd of people fighting, apparently right in front of a grocery store. They're already tearing the place apart, looting, yelling about some kind of apparition. What's even happening? Did the whole world go insane overnight? To be honest, I saw the news coming from the US. People over there seem to be acting the same way, so yeah, it's feeling pretty realistic. His capitalist sister is upset that she won't be able to go to work today, and he tells her to get real. Like they were just going to walk outside like it's nothing. No way. It's way too dangerous to be out now. They needed to remember everything that message said about the Heikin connection. Right then, the sister tells the status window to open, and it pops up immediately. He comments that he still has no idea what it really means, but one thing is clear. Whatever's coming, they've got 5 years to prepare. And just seeing the chaos on the streets on day one, it's already obvious that this won't be easy. His sister's just thinking to herself that this idiot is, for once, actually making some sense. After all the madness in the morning, things seem to calm down. People go back to their normal routines and South Korea starts settling down again. And with that, the first day ends. But the moment he closes his eyes, the system window pops up again, welcoming him back to the tutorial. It asks if he wants to learn how everything works, but he says no. He just wants to see his status screen. The guy came nerfed, my god, Kang Hyun. 8 in strength, 9 in agility, and 1 bonus ability. He's trying to figure out if that's good or bad, but honestly, you need comparisons to know that kind of thing. What catches his eye though is that he has a magic power stat, and on top of that, he sees a very interesting word, innate ability, resurrection. Now I'm confused, so that resurrection skill isn't part of the tutorial, it's actually his. The ability allows him to come back to life 24 hours after dying, and it stays active until the world exits the current crisis. Ah, now it makes sense. It's like a Minecraft spawn point. He revives at the last bed, or rather, the last place he slept, unless he picks a new spot. The penalty is that he loses 1 level each time he dies, and his stats drop by 50% for 24 hours. This bastard's already hyped, celebrating. He's sure he won't be some useless side character with a power like that. The moment the system asks if he wants to move on to stage 2, he says yes. He needs to find out right away if his stats are actually low or high. The story says he was really celebrating that resurrection ability, but he had no idea what was coming next. Inside a bloodstained castle, a goblin screams and charges right at him, aiming for his head. But the sneaky little green thing dodges. The system announces that in stage 2, he'll have to defeat all enemies to prove his strength. Luckily, the guy's got experience, he's played tons of games before, so he picks up on the goblin's pattern and lands a clean hit. The creature's all covered in blood, its weapon dripping, while Kang Hyun is shaking from the feeling of having just killed a living thing. He was about to throw up, and the only reason he didn't die is because that thing was trying to kill him too. He keeps moving forward, and from behind one of the walls, a massive goblin is watching him. The moment he spots it, our boy freezes. The big one sees that its buddy got killed behind its back. It starts walking forward, and Kang wonders why there are already 2 enemies right at the start. We're goblins supposed to be small, easy targets for beginners. But this thing's holding a sword that's at least a meter long. The monster lets out a roar and swings, landing a direct hit on his hand. He manages to block, but it leaves him completely shaken. The guy's never been to the gym, and all he ever did was sit at home playing games. So when that 1-meter sword collided with his barely 70-kilo frame, it instantly knocked his weapon out of his hands. And of course the goblin kept going, slicing upward with his blade, cutting the poor guy open. He took a brutal combo right there. With his vision all blurry and his whole body shaking, he asks why he has to go through something like this. And honestly, the weirdest part is that he doesn't even know why he hasn't died yet. Yeah, seriously. No one's going to give him a heads up on that. Maybe it's because of that resurrection ability? Though now I'm confused too. Resurrection means you die and come back, not that you're immortal. While being dragged across the ground, Kang starts wondering how much blood a human being actually has. As they pull him, he can feel death creeping up on his neck. And before he finally died, he was tortured for hours by 4 goblins. His sister wakes up to screaming, rushes into the room, and asks what the hell he's doing acting like that so early in the morning. But then she sees him all curled up and trembling, mumbling that goblins are terrifying. He's shaken, totally out of it. I honestly thought he was just being one of those pathetic types, but then he starts explaining over breakfast. He tells her that they made him bleed to death. First they ripped off his fingernails, then his fingers, then his toenails, and it just kept going. She actually asks him to stop talking. She died too, apparently, but it wasn't nearly that bad. She wants to know if that's the only reason he was screaming, and he says that if she had gone through what he did, she'd be waking up screaming too. She says fine, she gets it, but asks if maybe he wants to go to the hospital or something. It seems like psych wards have been filling up lately because of these experiences. He sits down and says he doesn't think that's necessary. It was bad, but not that bad. Then he says he's got at least one piece of good news. Apparently, once you die, a tutorial ends. The guy goes, phew, finally I can lie down and have a perfect, peaceful night's sleep. Except, yeah, no. The system greets him again with a welcome message to the tutorial. Poor guy just lets out a scream, asking what the hell is going on. Still completely traumatized, he sits in the back of a cave for hours, hoping maybe he'll wake up or something. But nope, nothing happens. Eventually, he gets up, realizing he's got no choice but to move forward. Last time he grabbed a mace, thought it'd be simple and strong. But now that he's terrified of getting close to goblins, a bow or crossbow sounds like a much better plan. Like every Korean guy, he had some experience from military service. So he figured, yeah, this should work. But this guy really thought he'd grab an M4 or something. Aim fired, grazed the goblin. The little monster turns and gives him a death glare. Luckily, the guy had brought 2 weapons. Cheating a little, huh? He also took a spear, charged him with all his courage, and bam, drove it right into the first goblin's chest. He's already celebrating, saying he got one of the bastards. He turns to defend against the second one. But guess what? This isn't a video game. The spear was still lodged in the other goblin, and he couldn't pull it out. And in that moment, the second big one came in and sliced him right open. Well, at least this time he woke up in his room right. Hopefully, he didn't spend the whole night suffering. That's exactly what he celebrates. Yeah, he's sweating and completely wrecked, but at least it was instant. The system pops up again and he gives it a thumbs up. Stage 2, round 3. This time he picks the shield. Why? Because he spent all day watching YouTube videos on how to use a sword. The guy says he's ready. Let the green bastards come at him. Yeah, it didn't last long. He's already woken up again. While he's losing his mind, shouting that he's going to kill everything, his sister just stares, wondering if this is starting to mess with his head. Once more, the welcome screen appears. it's time for round 4. But instead of running into battle, this time he just stands there, swinging the sword up and down. After a few hours doing that, his vitality stat goes up by 1 point. He spent 8 hours doing that. Checking his window, he finally sees something change. He remembers that he has that 1 point for additional abilities. Looks like he invested it into strength, and now he's ready to charge. He says he's going to get his revenge now that he's got 2 extra points, but obviously, he wakes up back in his room again. Seems like this time he didn't even manage to kill a single goblin, which is just embarrassing. Round 5, he does the same thing again, swings his sword around for 8 hours and gains 1 more point in vitality. Round 6, after spending 10 hours doing squats, push-ups, and everything else he could think of, he earns another point in strength. At that point, he was already handling 2 goblins at once with some ease. The problem? He was still lacking the fundamental skills. Even if he could survive the first couple, it wasn't nearly enough to deal with the rest. In round 7, he made a decision. He just trained with the sword non-stop. He kept slashing and slashing and slashing. As usual, after a few hours, he got 1 more vitality point. He collapsed on the ground, exhausted, and a window popped up. His swordsmanship skill had finally leveled up from the worst possible rank to rank F. The system explained that the skill now helped him adjust his posture and distribute force more effectively. Sure, it was still as bad as a drunk neighbor flailing a sword, but hey, it was better than nothing. He should have been celebrating, saying now he could finally get revenge on those bastards. With bloodshot eyes, he says, today they all die. There were 5 goblins total in the second tutorial, 2 guarding the front of the castle and 3 in the back. Those first 2, he fought them so many times they were practically training dummies by now. He takes out the first one with a crossbow bolt and finishes the second with his sword. The real problem was the forest ones. He manages to take down 2 of them using strategy, but that last one was a serious challenge. The goblin's axe clashes with his sword. Now they're in a proper duel. The monster goes in for another strike. He blocks with his shield, and that's when he starts noticing something. He can see the attacks now. His body's reacting before his eyes can fully register the moves. He feels a lightness in his arm. Swordsmanship rank F kicks in, and he nearly lands a stab in the goblin's chest, but only manages to scratch his cheek. The real problem? He knows what to do, but after fighting 4 goblins already, he's completely drained. The goblin swings again, smashes right into his sword, and knocks it flying. The monster comes in to finish the job. But Kang just starts laughing mid-fight. He says it's because he knows this bastard. He knows the goblin loves to torture people. He avoids killing blows on purpose. His pattern is way too obvious. So Kang pulls a classic street move, kicks up a bunch of dirt into the goblin's eyes. The monster's blinded, flailing around, and Kang picks up a rock and slams it into the goblin's shin. Dude's stumbling around, swinging blindly, while Kang circles behind him and smashes the rock into the side of his face. Killed the thing with a rock, it seems. The system congratulates him, gives him some bonus stats, lets him choose a new weapon, and even unlocks a new skill, the worst possible rank in shield usage. He's over there celebrating, but I can already feel the next round's going to wipe that grin off his face. He levels up twice and declares he'll prove that humans are superior to goblins. The next morning, he's got this weird expression, probably some meme I don't know. He says this is the strong morning and he's Kang Hyun, feeling absolutely amazing. To celebrate clearing stage 2, he's making himself some coffee. And of course, just like everything he does now, it tastes perfect. But then he hears a loud noise outside, and his sister bursts into the room asking what he's done this time. Right then, the system pops up saying the world tutorial has ended. From now on, he can freely use the system outside of the tutorial and dungeons will begin appearing. He rushes to the front of the house and looks out, and right there in the middle of the street, a dungeon gate has appeared. He and his sister immediately understand what it is, while the rest of the people are just standing around confused, staring at it. But only awakened ones can enter those gates. They started appearing all over the world, and guess what? If they weren't cleared in time, the gates would collapse. Meanwhile, the connection to that Haken place was still sitting at 4 years and 357 days. Now I'm getting kind of confused. I thought the tutorial had 8 stages. So what's going on here? Well, obviously, once those gates activated, the world went into even worse chaos than it did on the first day. As usual, the siblings kept it safe and decided to stay calm at home, digging for information. Kang found out that apparently the tutorial wasn't completely over. Anyone who recently had a birthday, specifically those who just turned 16, was now eligible to join. His sister says people are talking non-stop about the dungeons. There's talk that whoever received talents is now expected to go into those portals and clear them. Our guy, though, is excited. Now he can finally have the full status window in the real world. He tells it to open, but the system responds that the tutorial is still ongoing, so that's not possible yet. He finds it kind of odd, but then remembers, right, the tutorial has 8 stages. While he kept repeating stage 2 over and over, the rest of the participants had already finished it. After all, it had been 8 days since everything started. So he tells his sister that there's nothing else to do but finish the tutorial, and asks if she found any info on stage 3. She says the only thing she heard is that the theme seems to be patience. That's all she could dig up. Very few people made it past stage 2, so details about stage 3 are practically non-existent. He flexes his biceps and says it's going to be easy. He's gotten super strong and he's not going to suffer again like he did back then. Stage 3, it'll be smooth sailing. And so here we are that same night, stage 3. Strangely enough, that golden liquid the monster's pouring on him. Yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking. In stage 3, the system explains that he has to prove his persistence and tenacity. The condition is to kill the boss, Gorka. As always, failure means death. The event notes that if he waits for the right opportunity, it'll present itself. He's pumped, dressed in camo gear, but he's wondering what this whole sneak-in and assassinate thing is about. Whatever it is, the first step is finding where these guys even are. He checks his status window to see what's new. He's now level 4. He's also unlocked crossbow mastery. The guy's glowing with new skills and perks. He puts his extra points into strength and vitality. Still, he feels like he's missing some kind of reward he doesn't remember claiming. The system then opens up the inventory tab. He taps on the sword and pulls it out from the interface. The only problem is, it's worn down, all battered. But with no better option, he figures it's time to see what this Gorka thing is all about. He tells himself the story of Carlos Hitchcock, that legendary American sniper who crouched for 3 days, 1.4 kilometers away just to take down a general. That's his mindset now. It looks like he's been crawling for 10 hours straight. Finally, he spots the enemy cabin. 2 guards are standing out front. He wonders if maybe he should just take the shot and force his way through. At this point, his clothes are soaked in piss. He couldn't move for hours and covered in bugs. And right at that moment, something blocks the light above him. Yeah, you guessed it. That's when he gets that lovely golden shower and just freezes in place. The guy really is patient. As the creature backs away, Kang keeps telling himself, be patient, be patient. But suddenly he bolts forward, charging straight at the thing, shouting that he's getting revenge for that mess. The slash is clean, perfectly aimed, and the first one drops dead. The second grabs his spear and turns to face him. At that moment, an alarm signal is triggered in the village, and suddenly, he's surrounded. Goblins coming in from every direction. The guy's going off the deep end, smiling like a maniac and saying that if he's screwed anyway, then he might as well say that one line he's always wanted to. Bring it on, you sons off. Yeah, that one. And would you believe it? He actually unlocks a new skill, Lion's Roar. Alright, here comes round 2. This time, he jumps right in and starts things off by unleashing that lion's roar, pulling every enemy toward him and charges straight at them. After crawling around for 10 hours during his first try, he figured something out about these monsters. The Gorka warriors go out to hunt during the day and only come back at night. In other words, the camp is way weaker in the daytime with no one around to defend it. So what does he do? He starts slicing through everything, storms into the main tent without hesitation. But then inside, he sees a chubby guy flanked by 2 hooded mages. The boss points at him, and right away, a magic circle forms behind Kang. Boom! Low-rank immobilization spell. And right then and there, he's wondering what kind of curse tutorial includes this. That's when he remembers the description of Lion's Roar. It removes any debuff below rank D. He takes a deep breath, roars again, and the debuff shatters. He charges, takes 2 steps toward the boss, leaps into the air, and yells. Everybody's got a plan, until they take a sword to the face. He actually pulled it off. I thought he was about to get wrecked again. As a reward, he gains an intermediate level regeneration skill. And on top of that, since he cleared stage 3 in record time, he's awarded the title the Impatient. Kang's hyped. He took a whole week to clear stage 2, but now stage 3, 1 day. Seeing how fast he's growing, he reaches a conclusion. Apparently, he's the chosen, talented protagonist. At this pace, he figures he'll blaze through stage 4 in a few minutes. He's already fantasizing about slaying dragons and walking around in golden armor. But then, we skip forward to 1 month later. On TV, they're reporting that it's been 25 days since the gates first appeared. The first response squads have already been formed and deployed into the dungeons. Any awakened civilians are encouraged to join the groups in exchange for rewards. His sister's in the kitchen, calmly cooking, when she hears him scream from the bedroom. But at this point, she doesn't even flinch anymore. She tells him to cut it out, but he storms out of the room, yelling that he finally finished. He walks straight ahead and killed everything in sight. She reminds him that he'd said earlier he was going to give up, but then she pauses, looking at him with a weird expression. He's different. From a distance, he looks like he's grown 50 centimeters and turned into a walking mountain of muscle. She's just staring at him like, you were already ugly, and now you're worse. Meanwhile, our boy is muttering into the void that these tutorial bastards are pushing him over the edge. His sister tells him to chill out, says he's looking like a full-on criminal, then asks, so what the hell is going on in stage 4? He explains that it was more of a group project. He had to prove his leadership skills. The mission window said the fail condition was death. He had to remove the dungeon core and ideally escape without losing a single teammate. Those other guys with him? Apparently, they were all NPCs assigned to the quest. At first, Kang just stood back watching. The group was arguing about whether they should retreat, and things started getting heated. But he managed to calm everyone down and convince them to move forward together. And at the start, that looked like he could carry the whole team. He used Lion's Roar to boost morale, and with his healing and regeneration abilities, staying alive was easy. His sister asks, okay, then why did it take a whole month? He says it all started that same night, and while he was sleeping, those bastards tried to kill him. Dude didn't even finish chewing his food before he was shouting about it again. Even when he sent them on night patrols, it'd come back, set up ambushes, and somehow managed to kill him anyway. It seemed like every attempt ended the same way, and in that nightmare of a stage, he had to come up with a brilliant strategy to finally win. His sister asks what it was, and he slams his hand on the table and says it was simple. Beat the crap out of all those bastards before starting the dungeon clear. Things got intense in the final part of the stage. He showed up, and as always, the group was deep in another pointless debate. Advance, retreat, who knows what. That's when Kang took a breath, unleashed Lion's roar, and yelled at everyone to shut up. Some girl asked him why he was doing that, and without saying a word, he pointed his sword forward and announced that from now on, everyone was going to follow his orders. Anyone who refused would die. If you talked back, you'd die too. The first guy, poor soul, dared to ask if he was crazy, and boom, Kang smashed his nose in. Hit after hit, even while everyone was screaming at him to stop, he kept pummeling the guy, saying, "I told you not to answer." Everyone starts shaking. Kang turns to them and says, "You're all going to follow me now because I know the way. Anyone who doesn't dies." Well then, problem solved, I guess. But this guy's getting brutal. A skeleton swung a sword at him. Kang caught it midair with his bare hand, pulled it in and snapped it in half. He tells the team that was the last one, and they're all standing there trembling, whispering that he's really wiping everything out. And then finally, he finds the dungeon core. The mission is to destroy it, so he slices the support. The system congratulates him for completing stage 4. As a reward, he gets the cleave skill at rank E and a mental fortification buff at rank B. After everything, he says the result wasn't that bad at all. Fighting through so many enemies, of course, his stats shot up and he racked up a ton of loot. He still has no idea what to do with the mana stones he got from the skeletons, but he's sure they'll come in handy eventually. The cleave skill is a powerful sword strike that has a chance of slicing enemies in half. There's a limit to it, sure, but it also ignores part of their defense. And that mental fortification thing, turns out it's not a skill, it's from a ring he found. As long as it's equipped, no mental type skill of rank A or lower can affect him. He knew the training had been amazing, but his favorite reward by far? The guy's now doing 300 push-ups straight, completely shredded. Seriously, look at the guy's physique. And he's already figured it out. Standard workouts like this won't cut it anymore. Maybe it's time to actually hit the gym or something. Right then, his phone buzzes. He checks it, and it's a government alert. A dungeon has appeared in a certain area, and all citizens are to stay indoors and lock their doors for safety. At first, he thinks, so another dungeon showed up. But no. This one exploded. Something went wrong and now goblins are loose in the city, killing everyone. Looks like they either forgot to clear the dungeon or didn't manage to in time. And just like the warning said, the gate opened and now the monsters are pouring out. And worse, it's not some far-off district. It's right in front of his house. Even worse than that, his sister had gone out to work while he was in the middle of doing crunches. He bolts out searching for a weapon because since he hasn't finished the tutorial yet, he can't access his inventory in the real world. So yeah, he grabs a kitchen knife. That's all he's got. 1 second later, he's out running through the street, yelling, calling the bastards out. He tries to activate Lion's roar, but nothing happens. Because the tutorial isn't finished yet, his skills don't work in the real world. The goblins just stare at him, confused, and that's when it hits him. This is going to be a lot harder without his abilities. Still, he managed to pull their attention. At least now, no one else in the area would die. Only problem, 2 armed goblins are already charging right at him. The guy's died so many times, he's starting to lose it. He's mocking the goblins, saying he's been past their level since stage 2. But even while talking big, he's on edge. He knows these guys could be different now. They're not tutorial mobs anymore. Still, with a quick flick of the kitchen knife, he slashes one, saying he can tell their strength just from the way they move. And that blade's already pressed up against the monster's throat. He tells the bastards to come at him. He's already stolen one of their swords and says he's got a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, across the city, people are barricading an office door. Everyone's shaking because something's banging from the other side. And yep, it's the office where his sister works. She's sweating bullets. He had messaged her asking if she was still at work, and she just replied yes, but told him not to come. That's when the yelling and the sound of slicing start from outside. The door's getting smashed in, furniture falling. And then who walks in? The madman himself, covered in blood, holding a knife and saying, "Sorry for breaking it down, but sis, I'm here." He looks like a full-on psycho, blade still in hand, and everyone's staring like, is this really her brother? While he's looking around the office, some guy in the back yells, asking who he even is. Why the hell did he break their barricade? Their only protection? Kang apologizes casually and tells them not to worry. The monsters are already dead. They're all frozen in fear, but he tells them each to grab a weapon. Even if they fail the first stage, any normal person should be able to take on a single goblin. His sister asks where he's going and he says, obviously, he saw more goblins on the way and he's heading there now. Even if there's only a few left, he wants to make sure everyone sleeps peacefully tonight. Cut to the next scene, she's pouring water over his arm and the guy's still growing. Seriously, what's going on? He's gonna hit 5 meters at this rate. She's mad now, telling him to quit playing the tough guy and demands to know why he's running around picking fights. He explains that he didn't want to get beat up, but normally he has a regeneration skill that helps him recover. Problem is, since he's outside the tutorial, it doesn't work here. So yeah, it's not going great. People have already put the barricade back up and she tells him to be more careful. If he can't use his skills, that means no resurrection either. Clearly, he's not okay in the head. He just shrugs and says it was still pretty cool. She replies, yeah, and that's why you deserve that beating. But even though she thinks that, seems like someone else had a different opinion. Her boss wants to meet him. Now the guy's all red in the face. And now here we are, it's time for stage 5. This time, the test is about proving his wisdom and overcoming mental obstacles. Poor guy had almost forgotten he was still stuck in this whole mess. And wow, what a group. The one with the blue hair is telling the redhead that she's a succubus. The archer girl is trying to calm everyone down. And our boy sees this full cast of beauties and wonders what kind of amazing situation he's just landed in. The objective for stage 5, find and kill a succubus who's disguised as a human. As always, if he fails, he dies. Obviously, the succubus is hiding her identity, and the first one to figure her out, yeah, she'll target them first. Kang is already sweating bullets. He knows what these women are, demons. He knows they disguise themselves as stunning women to suck your energy dry. The problem? Every single girl in his group fits that description perfectly. That's when Alice walks up, her eyes sparkling, and asks what he thinks. She wants to know who he suspects is the succubus. The guy's looking her over, completely flustered, thinking she's even prettier up close. All twisted up inside, he stammers, saying he's not sure. He really doesn't have a clue. But right at that moment, the system chimes in. His mental fortification ring has just resisted his seduction attempt. Whoa. Our boy's sitting there by the fire, thinking back on everything. Stage 1 was a hellish inferno. Stage 2, a brutal goblin fight. Stage 3, he got peed on. Stage 4, an entire month of pain. He's been through it all, suffering like a dog just to survive. But for the first time, he genuinely believes he might have an easy win. He quickly covers his mouth, realizing he was smiling like an idiot. If she realizes he's caught on, she'll probably kill him in his sleep. And at the same time, he knows succubi are no joke. Any demon who can disguise herself as a human and seduce like that, she's got to be powerful. And if the other guys are already under her spell, he's the only one left who can act. He thinks maybe it'd be smart to talk to the other girls. But nah, just for tonight, he decides to sleep. Naturally, he wakes up again in his sister's office. He jumps up yelling. People tell him to calm down. The military's on its way. But our boy is furious. He's sure the damn succubus realized he wasn't under her charm and killed him while he slept. Suddenly, he pauses. Wait, what's this about the military arriving? And yep, there they are. Troops roll in, guns blazing, and they mow the goblins down. Finally, real bullets are working on these green bastards. Kang's at the window, watching while everyone celebrates, thinking it's over. But then, he feels something strange. What's this feeling? He wonders. It's like something dangerous is getting closer. Like, he doesn't even finish the thought. Outside, soldiers are firing non-stop, wondering why it's not working. And that's when they see it. A red goblin just walking through the bullets. They're ricocheting off him like rubber. They keep shooting, unloading everything. But even a clean hit to the forehead makes him just tilt his head like nothing happened. Then the goblin roars, completely unhinged, and charges the vehicle. Soldiers hit the gas, firing behind them, but the goblin leaps, smashes down on the car, and obliterates the entire squad. Kang watches in shock from above. That goblin's aura alone is enough to leave someone completely paralyzed. The soldiers nearby mutter that Squad 3 got wiped out. One guy yells for reinforcements, but suddenly, he grabs his head, wincing in pain. And just like that, the goblin's already standing on the hood of the car, licking his lips. They ask where backup is, and someone says they're sending in a talented civilian. Bro, a civilian's not gonna do a damn thing against that. The goblin leaps again, going in for the kill. The soldier pulls his weapon, knowing this is it. But right then, Kang shows up and hurls a whole cinder block straight into the goblin's mouth. The thing flies back, skidding across the ground. Our boy climbs up onto the car and asks the soldier if he's okay. Looking at Kang's face, the guy's trembling. "You're another monster," he mutters. Kang says, "Easy there. I'm the reinforcement. Lower that weapon." The soldier, still shaken, tries to understand why Kang looks so damn threatening, then apologizes and thanks him for the help. But Kang just replies, "Get ready, because that thing's getting back up." And the reason Kang jumped into this mess, the goblin looked up the office, and Kang knew after it was done down here, it was heading straight for his sister. So he asks, "Did you guys bring any tear gas? Anything chemical?" The soldier nods. "Good," Kang says. "Use it. Use all of it. Don't worry. I've got a way to deal with this thing." He starts walking toward the goblin and tells them to open fire. His sister is watching from above, terrified. Meanwhile, Kang walks right up to the monster and says with a grin, "Well, look at you, not bad." The soldiers at that point grab the tear gas grenades and toss them right under the creature's feet. At least that was having an effect. The monster starts lashing out in every direction, panicking, and our boy quickly realizes it's moving just like those hobgoblins he fought before. He might be suffering too, sure, but he's way more used to pain than any creature could ever be. His first strike knocks the weapon out of the monster's hands, and now all it can do is take a beating. The problem is, Kang's arms are shaking like crazy, almost like he's about to cry, wondering why the hell this thing's so damn tough. The soldier from earlier is watching from a distance, clearly stunned by the kid's talent, when someone else shows up asking what's going on. This blonde guy walks in wanting to know who's fighting. Is he the reinforcement that was sent in? At this point, after all that effort, Kang's weapon is worn down and completely battered, and he still hasn't gotten anywhere. His eyes are burning like hell, and the damn goblin doesn't even have a scratch on him. He wonders if he's supposed to use some kind of martial arts move or maybe break one of the goblin's joints or something. Then suddenly, someone cuts in and starts slashing at the monster. And judging by the speed and force, whoever this guy is, he's no joke. Kang didn't even see the attack happen and starts wondering who that speed demon even was. But apparently the blonde guy didn't land an actual hit. He swung sure, but didn't cut anything. He calls out to Kang and tells him that this thing's the boss of an F-rank dungeon. Its defense is insanely high, but it's got to have a weak spot. Kang's surprised the guy even knows what an F-rank dungeon is, which means he's clearly experienced. They charge the goblin again, and the blonde tells Kang to keep the pressure on. Looks like the monster's stamina is running out, and its defenses are starting to drop. Kang keeps up the attack, but he's thinking, what's the point of draining its energy if they're not even doing any real damage? Right then, his sword shatters, and he needs a new weapon. Immediately, he remembers the one he knocked out of the goblin's hand, sprints over and grabs it. The blonde guy shouts at him to hit from the other side. The monster's weak spot seems to be exposed from there. But Kang's already figured it out. The creature's willing to take hits anywhere except the eyes. Problem is, it's guarding that area like crazy, so they'll have to make an opening somewhere else first. He says he doesn't know what else to do. Blood flies, and suddenly, bam, he lands a hit right in the monster's vital point. Kang even pauses for a second, apologizing to the creature, saying it was a dirty move. He says it felt like the sword moved on its own toward that spot. Maybe that really was its weak point. He's not completely sure, but now that he's in, he's going to finish this thing off. He hoists it up, impaled, then slams it to the ground, ripping through it. The monster bounces across the concrete. Kang's already chasing after it again. At this point, the poor beast is whimpering, foaming at the mouth, and Kang drives the blade in one final time. While he's finishing it off, the blonde guy's just watching from a distance thinking, damn, this guy's actually strong. The only problem? He has no idea where this talented guy even came from. Was he an independent player? Right then, the item dropped from the goblin begins to materialize. But since Kang hasn't finished the tutorial yet, he can't check what it is. Obviously, he grabs it anyway. He'll figure it out once the tutorial's done. As he tucks it into his inventory, the blonde guy approaches to ask who he is. But Kang, he's already suspicious. He thinks this guy might try to take the item, because technically, when you fight together, you're supposed to share loot. But he didn't ask for help. This guy just jumped in, worried the guy might try to claim whatever it is he just picked up, even though he doesn't even know what it is. Kang bolts, saying he's super busy and has things to take care of. He throws a wink over his shoulder and says, later. And the blonde is just left standing there, completely confused about what the hell just happened. A few hours after Kang took down the hobgoblin, the situation in the city finally started to calm down. Of course, he walked his sister back home, but the streets looked straight out of an apocalypse movie. It was already nighttime by the time they finally made it. But the moment they opened the door, she asked if by any chance he had forgotten to lock the damn thing. The entire place was trashed. She looked around and said he really had matured one bit. The two of them step in casually, slipping off their sandals, not even thinking about the possibility that whatever broke in could still be inside. But hey, there's an upside to having an older sister. She already had food waiting for him, so he's just there stuffing his face. She's on her phone, glancing at the screen, and tells Kang this whole thing is insane. Tells him to take a look, and there it is. The video of him taking out that goblin. Kang grabs the phone in shock. That's me. Who the hell recorded this and posted it without asking? The comments are a mix. Some people are saying it's awesome. The haters are calling it too easy, saying it was just a low-level goblin from the second stage. Still, the boy was clearly born to be an influencer. Just a few likes were enough to have him feeling real proud of himself. His sister takes one look at him and says his face already gave it away. He tells the damn woman to stop talking about how ridiculously handsome he is. But then he sees the comments again. And yeah, a lot of people are saying his face looks more like a villain's. Later that night, he calls out to his sister, saying he needs her help. She asks what it is, and he tells her to turn off the lights. She's confused, but since he saved her life today, she says fine, but warns him he better not wake up screaming like a lunatic again. He gives a thumbs up and says to relax. This stage is gonna be easy. As he's lying there trying to fall asleep, he keeps thinking about that blonde guy from earlier. He looked insanely strong. How many stages had he cleared? Kang knows. If it weren't for his resurrection skill, he wouldn't have made it past the second stage himself. Still, none of that matters. Sooner or later, he's going to finish all 8 stages. It's time to become the strongest. He turns over, remembering that damn Sakua's. Yeah, she was kinda cute. Even though she killed him and he knows she's a monster, for some reason he's actually excited to see her again. He shows up in a dream smiling, all eager to greet her. But when he opens his eyes, there's a goblin right in front of him, breathing in his face. He decks the thing in the face, sends it flying. Immediately, he starts wondering where that amazing team from the last dream went. What weirdly, the mission this time is to clear out a goblin cave and wipe the dungeon. Cave goblins have poor eyesight, but excellent hearing. And as always, if he fails, he dies. He's already surrounded, wondering what the big deal is with this hearing thing. As the goblins close in, he lets out a dramatic yell. Why the perfect mission disappear? And you know what? I agree with him. Where did that beautiful mission go? Bring it back. The scene shifts to a land house in the city, where the blonde guy is wrecking people. Some guy in a green hoodie, completely beaten, Wants to know how someone who hasn't even entered the tutorial yet is stronger than someone with actual talent. The blonde steps on him and tells him to shut it. Stats don't change anything just because you've got a few extra points. Thinking back to Kang's fight, he starts licking his lips, saying something interesting has shown up. And seriously, artists, why don't you ever draw this stuff with a girl instead, huh? Why you got it then? Stage 5, round 3. Looks like our boy died again. Now the mission is to kill a doppelganger, a monster that eats humans, steals their form, and hides among them. Honestly, the succubus stuff was way more fun than this nightmare. At the same time, it's kind of like a mafia game, all about figuring out who's who, watching for lies. The key stat this time is wisdom, but Kang's already picked up some skills when it comes to group dynamics. He takes a deep breath and yells for everyone to look at him. The guys all turn to look at him in silence. He coughs and says, "The first one who moves is the culprit," and they're dead. That's when our boy realizes he forgot something important. In mafia games, the one who talks too much is usually the first to die. And judging by the situation, he already died and didn't even notice. At this point, it just feels like he keeps waking up and falling asleep. I'm not even seeing the game anymore. And apparently, during stage 5, he got stuck there for over a month and a half. Some dude with glasses asks Ayan what she thinks. But hold up, it's not some guy with glasses. It's our protagonist trying to act smart now. She tells him she just got back from work and wants to know what the hell he's doing. He says he's trying to change who he is, starting with his appearance. He's already died 53 times in that cursed mission, and it was time to try something different. That damn system always says to use wisdom, but every mission is totally different, so he never actually learns anything. His sister tells him the only way he'll get smarter is with a brain transplant. He just slumps in defeat. She really hit him with that, and she walks off saying she's going to install some kind of soundproofing in his room because she can't take it anymore. Back in stage 5, use your wisdom to overcome the obstacles. This time he appears inside a cave. A system shows up, and he already knows it's gonna be some stupid mess again. But suddenly, something makes him smile and shout, "Eureka!" The mission is to clear the F-rank dungeon Terang incubator, and the hint says the Terang guarding the incubator is level 20, so he needs to find its weak point. And there it is, the Terang spitter. Massive, grotesque, disgusting. But Kang is tired of these strategy missions. This was perfect, just a straightforward job, kill the monster and move forward. It spits at him. He thinks it's a web and dodges to the side, but turns out it's acid, and his whole arm starts melting. Still, this guy's full psycho mode. He just cuts right through it, saying he's not gonna die here. No way. Even without the arm, he charges again, slips underneath, and stabs upward into its belly. Just like the system hinted, it had a weak spot, and that cut splits the thing in two. He's drenched in blood, yelling that he doesn't care about weak points. He'd rather smash the lock than use the key. And just like that, he clears stage 5 without much trouble. Too bad the succubus mission never came back. Now he's off the rails, shouting that only weaklings need to be smart. For finishing, he's awarded the S-rank skill Titan's Strength, which lets him infuse mana into his muscles, and he's now level 25. The scene cuts to classroom 3-2 at his school. Someone calls out to Minsu, saying it's birthday punch day, but the kid just replies that they'd better stay away. He's already exhausted from that damn tutorial. His friend asks how stage 1 went, and he says it sucked, just like everyone said. He's getting through it though. The problem is there are no more tips for stage 5. His friend says he heard that if you make it past stage 4, you're already in the top 1%, which is why everyone who clears it treats the info like it's pure gold. Suddenly, he sees a post. Someone had just finished stage 7 and was heading into 8. They left a tip. Stage 4 is about leadership, and the easiest way to win is by making your team surrender to your power. Stage 5 is about wisdom, but the easiest way to win is with brute strength. Stage 3 is strategy, and guess what? The easiest way to win. Yup, strength again. Stage 7 is about dedication, and again, beating the enemy to death is the shortcut. He's sitting there like, who the hell is this troll giving out advice that makes no sense? Meanwhile, Kang is screaming that he's trying to give people real advice to save their lives, but no one believes him. His sister's next to him asking why he's yelling so much. The guy explains, I gave everyone the tips, didn't I? I was being nice, explained exactly how to get through the tutorial, but no one believes me. His sister walks off laughing, telling him he shouldn't be giving tips to anyone. He's just wasting time. He agrees, saying that soon he'll finish stage 8 and become the first person in the nation to graduate from the tutorial. He'll be on the same level as the guild master of Damgan or the leader of the Skill Alliance Guild. But his sister keeps laughing, saying he'll never be on the same level as the people who finish without dying even once. Meanwhile, he's been stuck in this thing for 4 months. He tells her to shut up. He cleared stages 6 and 7 on his first try. And here we are, folks. Welcome to the tutorial. You've completed stage 7. Now it's time for the final battle in stage 8. The rewards from stage 6 were a B-rank sword named Biljan, which gave him the Berserker skill and apparently had a thirst for blood. Stage 7 gave him Ronald's armor, which came with auto-restoration. Our boy is hyped. The second he finishes stage 8, he'll finally be able to use his inventory in the real world. And that means he can finally check out that item he got from the hobgoblin he killed. The system welcomes him, saying all it asks is that he takes less than a week to complete it. But then, his expression shifts. The system asks him what his personal principles are. He just stands there, unsure what to answer. Then suddenly, the floor and ceiling start to crack. Out of nowhere, he falls into this abyss. Feels like he's diving into a void. When he opens his eyes, he's standing in the middle of a street. A woman walks toward him, but she passes right through him like he's a ghost. This is the first time he's seen a city inside the tutorial. He wonders if this could actually be Earth, but then he spots a weird couple nearby, and that confirms it. No one here is human. Everyone's this strange, brownish creature. Bipedal lizard-looking things. They're so ugly he doesn't even want to make eye contact. But then he notices one of them standing still, staring at him, or rather, looking at something behind him. When he turns around, there's a mountain of monsters marching his way. The mutant townsfolk start running in pure panic as the creatures flood down the street. Kang instantly recognizes a few of the monsters, ones he's fought before. But obviously there are others that are way stronger and way bigger. This is on a whole different level from any dungeon he's ever been in. It straight up feels like the end of the world just arrived in this place. That's when he remembers. The system said the connection with Haken would happen in 4 years and 280 days. He starts thinking, maybe this is what's going to happen on Earth when that time comes. Suddenly, his body is swallowed in shadow. He looks back and sees a massive titan with a cosmic head towering above him. The monster reaches out its hand, and as it comes down to crush him, Kang doesn't even dodge. He just stands there and gets disintegrated. Then he's floating in an empty void. A voice asks him, "So, how did it feel?" In front of him, a vague, invisible presence appears. He asks if it's some kind of god. The figure replies, "No, not quite. I'm what you call the administrator of this dimension." This stage was actually a personal interview with him. Kang was free to ask anything he wanted, and likewise, the administrator would be asking him a few things too. Kang immediately asks, "That vision I saw, is that really going to happen on Earth in 5 years?" The administrator replies, "That depends entirely on what humanity chooses to do from this point on." Kang says he doesn't understand. "If you're such a powerful entity, why don't you just stop it all?" The administrator answers, "I'm not a guardian. I simply maintain the balance of things. The best I can do is assign missions, create the tutorial, things like that." But now it was the administrator's turn to ask a question. He wanted to know, what has Kang Hyun been living for up to this point, and what principles does he live by? Kang says that's kind of a weird question. It's way too deep. Why would he want to know something like that? The guy responds that watching humans made him curious. All intelligent life forms are fascinating, but humans stood out even more in comparison. Kang clearly doesn't like the way this so-called guardian talks about humans. He says he probably hasn't observed them enough. Nobody on his planet has the luxury to sit around thinking about stuff like that. Everyone's just trying to survive, grab whatever little happiness they can, and push through one day at a time. The administrator asks if that's what he wants to protect. Kang says he is. He wants to protect his sister, even if she's useless, and his parents too. Basically, he's fighting for his family. The administrator asks, "So, do you want to be a hero?" Kang says he's died so many times already. He knows for a fact he's not cut out for that. There are definitely people out there way stronger than him, so he doesn't stand a chance. The damned administrator agrees, says the talent to be a hero is something you're born with, and right now Kang's much closer to being a nobody than a savior. But personally, he says he likes Kang. He had a great time watching him go through each stage of the tutorial. That's when it hits Kang. This guy's a sadist. He was just sitting back and enjoying watching him die over and over. So Kang asks, what was the deal with stage 5 being about wisdom, and why did it keep changing? Strangely, the administrator goes silent, then just says time's up. He really enjoyed their talk and tells Kang goodbye. Right away, a system message appears. You have completed stage 8. Kang is still confused, but the administrator reminds him, this was a tutorial. The real challenges are only just beginning, and they'll be way worse than anything he's faced so far. Whether Kang likes it or not, the administrator believes he has what it takes to become the hero who will save Earth. Our boy starts yelling, swearing that something fishy definitely happened in stage 5. But the entity just congratulates him for clearing everything, and then vanishes. The system then announces, you are the 62nd person to complete the tutorial. Title acquired, tutorial graduate. I knew it was him screwing me over in stage 5. That's what our guy says as he wakes up full of rage. But this time, they'd shoved something in his mouth. Turns out it was a dirty sock, and he asks if that messed up sister of his was the one who did it. Of course she was. So you wouldn't keep screaming, you damn idiot. Just looking at your face, I can already tell you failed the test again, is what the damn girl says. But look at this bastard's face. He instantly throws his hand to the side and calls up his status window. His sister better take a good look, because now he's officially a graduate man. The real deal just showed up. The damn girl just stood up and said how convenient. Now it's time for him to get out of the house and start making some money. She could have at least congratulated our boy, right? Now he understands why she doesn't have a boyfriend. That's what he says, right before getting smacked in the face with a stick. Looks like they already had breakfast and she's heading out, saying she'll be back soon. Our guy stares at his little window, graduate of the tutorial. The title for those who finished stage 8, giving +2 to all attributes. It wasn't as amazing as he thought it would be. On top of that, he already had the impatient title, but you can equip 2 at once. The system explains that aside from the main title, all the others only give 50% of their effect. So he quits the graduate title and sets the other as secondary. Now it was finally time for the moment he'd been waiting for, the item that bastard goblin had been carrying. A weird book, and he wants to find out what it really is. And it's Magic Explosion, Rank E, a book that lets you learn that skill, which blasts out magical energy. And strangely enough, he's there celebrating, super happy. In my head, this is crap, honestly, but fine, the guy's humble. I'd say he's just a simple, down-to-earth type. The system asks if he wants to learn the skill, and he instantly agrees. The book vanishes in his hand, and now he's excited to start testing out this new power. Meanwhile, in the city, a girl introduces herself as a Myung, a new public servant. Her very first job assignment is at the school that trains the people who've awakened. That's where folks go to get their certifications, and it was also one of the first places built after everything started going crazy. She's thinking she'll be working with the nation's heroes. Definitely seems like a job worth doing. Obviously, though, some lunatics gotta show up. Poor girl's shaking like a leaf, apologizing through tears. Kang's standing there like some kind of monster while she's begging to see the rest of his paperwork. He tells her to speak louder, asking what the problem is. She's even holding up a little sheet to defend herself, trying to figure out why he's acting like that toward her. Girl, I'm the one who's confused here. Why are you acting like this? Is what our guy says, until someone nearby calls out, asking what's going on. The rest of the people just hanging around start filming, wondering why this guy's threatening the poor girl. He tries to explain that he didn't do anything, but then someone else shows up, asking what all the fuss is about. Myung calls out to instructor Lee Hyun and asks for help. The blonde guy takes a look and sees our protagonist. In that moment, both of them feel like they've seen each other before somewhere. He asks for the sheet, and she hands it over. The guy sees the name Kang Hyun and says the photo looks way different. Our boy explains, I awakened, so yeah, my appearance changed. But I swear it's me. If you don't believe it, check my DNA or fingerprints. Whatever, it doesn't matter to me. The guy notices he finished stage 5, and our guy confirms it. For some reason, he's pretending to be a low-key loser hiding his real power, which is why he listed his level lower than it is. Why? No idea. Then the guy says that if Kang's at level 12, that's pretty high for someone who only made it to stage 5. Looks like he illegally entered a few dungeons. Now it's starting to make sense. He shouldn't be that high level, not even close to reaching stage 8. None of it adds up. And apparently he lied, but even so, they're still suspicious. So he lies a bit more, saying he went into one dungeon before it became illegal. Lee Hyun says he gets it, but wants to know more about this masculinity power. What kind of skill is that supposed to be? Our guy says it's simple. It just doubles his strength. That's it. He accepts that explanation, but says he has one more question. Everyone receives a talent at stage 3, an accessory at stage 4, and some kind of skill or special reward at stage 5. So he should list everything he got. Kang's starting to get tired of this whole interrogation, but he agrees. He bites his own arm, and right away it starts to regenerate. Obviously, that's the skill he got, self-healing. He also shows the ring he has, the one that blocks mental attacks. But since he already lied about the skill, he goes on and says the ring gives him a power that lets him scare everyone when he shouts. The blonde guy tells him to go ahead and use it to prove it. Then we see another blondie nearby, the one with the hair shaved on the sides, just watching as Kang takes a deep breath. Ah, this is the guy who seems to remember the whole goblin incident. And in that exact second, the trauma hits him and he instantly covers his ears. Kang lets out a scream that shakes the entire room, and everyone covers their ears. Kang asks if he needs to prove anything else, and the guy says there's no way he can doubt him after that. Good lord, just look at this dude's face. Artist, you need to chill. I swear I'm gonna find out your name and end you. Our guy's sitting there all in his feelings, saying he got rejected at first because of his ID. But after that roar, he was accepted right away. Even so, now that he's in the classroom, he's sitting there by himself, and it looks like no one wants to get anywhere near him. The crazy guy who yelled at the receptionist and then screamed at someone else. That's what people are calling him now. Our boy notices that the vibes around him are getting kind of weird, especially with that strange blonde dude eyeing him the whole time. Kang Hyun walks into the room, introduces himself, and says he's more or less in charge of that whole section. Says it's a pleasure to meet everyone, and the crowd gives a polite round of applause. For the next 10 days, they'd be studying theory and doing hands-on practice in the afternoons. All meals and lodging would be provided there. Anyone who didn't cause trouble would earn their certification with no problem. Finally, he asks everyone to pay close attention. It's been about half a year since the world changed. Even after 6 months, new information about dungeons and monsters keeps coming in all the time. Tactics, strategies, and goals are constantly evolving. What he's trying to say is that everything they're learning could change at any moment. Nothing is guaranteed. Our guy's thinking this place is just straight up depressing. The instructor continues, saying there might be some outdated or flat-out incorrect info. That's why he's only going to teach what's necessary for survival. That was the message. He's looking forward to working with everyone over the next 10 days. Everyone starts to get up while Kang is just staring up at the ceiling. That was boring as hell. He thought this was going to be some amazing academy where he'd just get his ID and bounce. But no, it's going to be awful. Then the walking Giga Chad comes over and talks to our guy, introducing himself as Guak Suil. Our boy's trying to figure out who this Jack dude is. They shake hands and Kang Hyun gives his name. The guy grins weirdly. Guak suddenly crushes his hand and tells him he's screwed now, says if you want to lead in a place like this, you've got to take down the cocky ones right at the start. He's hated this kid ever since that scream. But now he's the one who's confused. Kang's just standing there, calm as ever, while he's the one shaking. And then bam, our boy activates Titan Strength, boosting his muscle power by 12 strength points for 10 minutes. Now it's Guak who's sweating buckets, trying to understand how he's suddenly losing in a contest of raw power. Up to now, he's dumped all of his points into strength, so it shouldn't even be possible. And worst of all, everyone is staring. The poor guy can't take it. He starts making weird faces and bam, his arm explodes. What the hell? Blood shoots everywhere, and the entire room is in shock. That weird blonde kid, he's just sitting there like, somebody kill this maniac already, please. A while later, the guy gets taken away by ambulance. Kang says, you people are all misunderstanding everything. That musclehead came up to me out of nowhere and wanted a handshake, and suddenly, his arm starts swelling and blows up. That's it. Lee Kevin obviously doesn't buy that for a second, but our guy insists he's telling the truth. He only survived because of that strength boosting skill that multiplies his power by 1.5. Otherwise, he would have gotten hurt too. That's when Lee Hyun notices something odd and asks if his ability wasn't called masculine strength. Our guy says it is. But the blonde reminds him that earlier he claimed the ability doubled his strength, and now he's saying it's 1.5. Our boy's all awkward, saying he got it wrong because he's bad with numbers. But yeah, it's either 1.5 or 2. One of those. The blonde just thinks this kid's going to be a real headache. He says he gets it and tells Kang to go back to class. Back inside, Kang's finally thinking he can relax when someone suddenly sits next to him. Of course, it's that damn blonde again asking if he can sit close. Kang tells him to do whatever he wants, but in his head, he's wondering why he keeps attracting muscle freaks and now delinquents too. Out of nowhere, the guy grabs his hand and introduces himself as Yusung. He had just turned 18 and was there after completing the tutorial, and now he's already asking how Kang pulled that stunt off. When Kang asks what he's talking about, the crazy dude already blurts out that he wants to know how he made that guy's arm explode like that. It must be some amazing skill. Poor protagonist already knows this guy's not all there either. A while later, Lee Hyun walks into the room, apologizes for the delay, and immediately starts explaining that there are 2 types of dungeons, regular and irregular. The regular ones are obviously the most common, and they break after 4 weeks. Break meaning the monsters start spilling out into the city. Irregular dungeons, on the other hand, can break at unpredictable times. Sometimes it's 4 weeks, sometimes it's instant, right when they appear. To close a dungeon, there are 2 options. The first is to destroy the main core, which is deep inside and extremely hard to find. The second is to destroy the regular core. There are 2, right? And this one just delays the break. Do you think I need to know any of this crap just to kill monsters? I didn't come here to get some useless lecture, says the jacked guy in the back. Our guy starts realizing that every single musclehead in the room is a walking problem, completely forgetting he's also one of the buff guys himself. One of the guards steps in and tells the guy to stop causing trouble or he'll be kicked out. But Hyun says it's okay and asks the guy to come down to the front because it's time for a little lesson. The guy says fine, clearly impressed by how cocky the instructor is. He spreads his arms wide, wanting to know what Hyun plans to do. Lee Hyun says he'll give him 1 minute. During that time, he'll dodge and block all of his attacks. And if the guy manages to even scratch him once, he'll be allowed to graduate. But if he fails, he'll be expelled. Yusung and our boy are just watching from the side, wondering if this guy really has the guts to accept something like that. At the same time, they're kind of hyped. This looks like it's about to get interesting. The musclehead immediately says he's obviously being underestimated. He draws his sword and warns Hyun not to regret it. The guard panics like, sir, please. But the guy actually pulls out a real sword. Hyun calmly adjusts his glasses and tells him to come at him. The side character instantly loses it and lunges forward. But Hyun easily dodges the first swing and says that kind of attack is way too predictable. Even if he were to strike from behind, a sloppy hit like that wouldn't land on anyone. Looks like we've got another gym freak about to pop a vein. He slashes again, but only hits air. Hyun appears behind him and says the problem is that his movements are way too wide. No opponent's going to just stand there waiting to get hit like that. Obviously, Brew. The dude keeps swinging like crazy, left and right, putting everything he has into it. But Hyun's just dodging smoothly, like it's nothing. Now the guy's all red-faced like a drunk and charges straight in, just for Hyun to duck again. And then Hyun casually says that at this rate, he's going down quick. A solid kick knocks the sword out of his hands and drops him to the ground. Then Hyun pulls out his phone and shows that the minute is already up. It actually says 1 minute and 28 seconds. I saw it. Kang's reminded of those pro boxer videos where they dodge every hit. You never imagined someone could actually do something like that to an awakened person. It's clear now there's a massive difference between people's talents and abilities. Watching that speed and reaction time, Kang realizes that even after all the time he spent trapped in the tutorial, he probably had a hard time going up against this guy. He closes his eyes and wonders if it were just the 2 of them, one-on-one, who would win. It's the same thing that damn blonde Yusung is thinking. Look at him again with that face. Put your tongue back in your mouth already. What the hell is that? Kang sees it too and starts wondering if this guy's a psycho. Clearly, he's already regretting letting that lunatic sit next to him. At the Awakened School, mornings were for theory and afternoons were all about hands-on training. Kim says that today they're going to train their skills using each type of weapon. They're supposed to head up to the front and pick their favorite. At first, they can just practice however they want, and then he'll observe and give them some tips depending on what they're doing. Kang grabs a sword and immediately notices it's already all rusted. And right away, that weird blonde kid says that just swinging the sword around like that in the air is way too boring. Why don't they have a little sparring match instead? Of course, our boy agrees instantly. Thank God the blonde declines, saying they'll only be allowed to practice like that after day 6. Phew, the artist would have had every excuse to draw that weirdo with his tongue out again. Honestly, the apocalypse could go ahead and start right now with goblins invading if it meant skipping that scene. That'd be great. Under the blazing sun, everyone's spread out, getting tossed around by the wind. Our guys watching from the side, kind of shocked by how bad everyone is. The average level is way lower than he expected. He wasn't really planning to train, but maybe this can at least serve as a decent warm-up. So he picks up the sword and starts swinging, slashes to the left, right, just practicing his form. Kim glances over and sees the kid going all out with the slashes, then says, "That's not how you fight." One of the guards comes over and tells him he's leaving his defense too open. He needs to adjust the angle of the sword. He might be trying to show off with those flashy moves, but they're useless in a real fight. Our guy is not having it. He's already thinking about killing this guy. Of course, he's only thinking that because he's immortal, right? Doesn't matter if he gets wrecked. He can just respawn the next day. The guard tells him that if he tries that fencing crap inside a dungeon, he's gonna get himself killed. But Kang grabs him by the collar and asks if he wants to throw down right now. Okay, maybe he didn't actually do that, or maybe he did. But what really happens is he backs off and says, "Alright, I'll keep that in mind." Then the guy claps and calls over Sung Han, the same guard, and gets everyone's attention. He says Kang Hyun and the assistant will now give a demonstration. Kang is obviously confused. Why the hell did it land on him? The blonde hands a sword to the instructor and tells him to use the skill he was asking Kang to show earlier. And obviously, our boy's supposed to fight however he wants. Yeah, it's pretty clear now the blonde figured out Kang's the real deal, and he wants the assistant to learn the hard way. The poor guy's standing there all lost, but the blonde just says, "Go on." The countdown begins. 1, 2, 3. Our boy charges. Kang rushes in and hits him hard right off the bat, throwing the guy off balance. He changes the angle mid-swing, smacks the sword out of the guy's hand, and sends it flying. The assistant's already down. 2 hits. He didn't even try to hurt him, just disarmed him clean. What a humiliation. The instructor turns to the group and says they need to train the skills that prepare them for real combat. They need to build reflexes to respond immediately to threats. Just like Kang showed, the most important thing is how you respond and start your movements. There's no one perfect form, nothing's absolute. He asks everyone to give a round of applause while the poor assistant is red as a tomato. He totally got clowned. Kang's standing there all proud, but the damn guy didn't understand a thing the instructor said. He just went all in, pure instinct. The instructor walks over to the assistant and apologizes, saying he didn't intend for him to get beat up like that. The guy gets up and says it's fine. He still learned something new from it. Though yeah, he was definitely surprised. The instructor tells him not to feel embarrassed. He just wanted to confirm something. That damn bastard used Kang's craving for a fight to expose his secrets. And so the next chapter begins, My Precious Training Diary, written by Kang Hyun. On the first day, some dude got on his nerves, so he blew up the guy's arm, and the rest of the class was boring as hell. The second day wasn't much better. They trained with some weapons, and Sung seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much. Honestly, he should probably start avoiding that weirdo. On day 3, he realized that this strange guy was the only one actually willing to talk to him, and he was like a mosquito that just wouldn't leave him alone. By the 4th day, he was so bored he spent the whole time sketching himself cutting off a goblin's head. Day 5, all he wanted was to go home. It was too damn boring. He even collapsed on the ground in the middle of training, just completely done. Day 6 rolls around and there he is, face planted on the desk. He tells the blonde, "Come on, start a fight or something. You anything to get kicked out and make this place fun." But Yu Sung wants to know why. Wasn't he the one who said they were gonna lay low and graduate quietly? Our boy goes, "I'm telling you to make a mess. If you get expelled, that's on you. I'm good." But Sung tells him to chill. It's day 6 after all. They're finally going to have some real sparring matches today. So something good's about to happen. He's got a 6th sense for these things. A bit later during training, some dude takes a hit to the hand, drops his sword, and falls flat. The instructor announces that Kang Hyun is the winner and calls up the next group. As Kang is walking back to his seat, Sung says he's seriously impressed. Kang fights really well. But our guy just shrugs and says it was only because his opponent was weak as hell. Still, while watching the other students, he starts wondering what this weird feeling is. It all looks like Child's played him. The average level is way lower than he expected. He doesn't fully understand what each person's talent is, but apparently most people don't make it that far up in levels. Worst part, he knows he's going to have to do 2 more of these boring matches before day 8, and they're all so dull. 2 hits and it's over. Up on stage, one guy charges in with his spear while the other just screams like crazy, and Kang's sitting there, barely interested. Damn, this guy actually aimed the spear right at the other's forehead. Good thing the instructor stopped it in time and declared the match over. The winner, Kim Chang-guk. Seeing how fast the instructor reacted, Kang is now excited to fight someone like him. That's when they call Yu-sung's name. He turns to Kang and says he'll be right back. Oddly, he gives this weird little smirk and walks up to the platform all calm. Kang remembers that this creep had said something interesting was going to happen today. He just hopes the guy doesn't start anything and somehow drag him into it. At least the instructor is right there, so technically nothing should happen. But then, oh boy, the girl steps up and instead of using a weapon, she pulls out some kind of magical staff. Sure, it has its pros and cons, but in a small space like that, it doesn't seem like the best choice. The instructor asks, "Didn't your weapon used to be a sword? Why are you using a spiked mace now?" Yu-sung just replies, "Is there a rule saying I can't switch?" The instructor says it's fine. Jesus. Kang's starting to get nervous. This guy might actually crack her skull open while she's distracted. The instructor begins the countdown. 1, 2, 3. The girl summons some little crystal shards and launches them his way. His mace starts glowing purple, and just like that, he shatters the attack without a problem. He's smiling that creepy smile of his, while Kang watches in awe. It's the first time he's seen real magic in action. Apparently, you could learn that back in the tutorial. Weird though, he never saw anything like that during the martial training. Was the girl hiding her abilities all this time? She's clearly struggling, gripping the staff tightly and triggering something, but the whole thing goes soft and wobbly. Really strange. At the very least, it's unique. She fires off another big crystal attack, but Yu-sung glances off to the side, watching the instructor. He raises the mace like he's going to block, but instead, he steps to the side and launches himself straight at her. Kang actually looks shocked by what he's seeing. I thought he was about to smash her in the face with that thing, but turns out he used his mace to deflect her attack and redirect it toward the instructor. Of course, the instructor just dodges it with ease, but in the meantime, Yu-sung rushes in and cracks her right in the middle of the head. Holy hell, what was that? He actually hit her that hard, and now he's standing there celebrating. Dude, I called it, didn't I? I said he was gonna go nuts, but the guy's practically drenched in blood, smiling like he's proud of it. Kang better get away from this lunatic or just take him out seriously for everyone's safety. Thankfully, someone's already calling for an ambulance and saying it's a fractured hand. I don't even know why I'm so worried about this girl, but please don't kill her. I mean it, Blondie. You better not. I just don't like this guy, that's all. The instructor immediately points his massive sword at Yu-sung's face and demands to know what the hell that was. Obviously, this blood-covered lunatic just says it was an accident. Oops, sorry, my bad. Totally didn't mean to. The instructor asks if he even hears himself talking. Yu-sung says yeah and throws in a cheeky little wink. The instructor turns away and announces that they'll take a 20-minute break. Everyone has to be back by 3, and Yu-sung is to follow him. From a distance, Kang's watching all of this, and he's got that look, like he recognizes that weird glint in the blonde guy's eyes. Even with what just happened, this poor girl getting absolutely wrecked, the training continues like nothing happened for another 2 days. And no, Yu-sung wasn't expelled. He just kept training like everything was totally normal. The only difference is that the poor guy who had to spar with him next looked like he was about to crap himself just standing there. Kang even noticed there was a healer already stationed behind the guide, just in case. Thanks to that, day 8 ended without anything major happening. Or at least it should have. Here's our boy, 500 kilos of muscle, calling out to Kim Lee-hyun. Says, hey, training's almost over. Wouldn't now be the perfect time for us to have a real sword fight? The instructor tells him to quit bothering him. They just need to wait 2 more days and it'll all be over. But Kang, curious as ever, asks if he's not getting tired of all these kiddie games. He can tell that Kim must be itching for a real fight too. Kang's sure that sitting there reading papers and doing admin stuff doesn't really suit him. So he leans in close and says he knows they've met before. And that clearly hit a nerve. The instructor loses his composure. Later, out on the training field, Kim Lee-hyun says it all makes sense now. So it was him from before. He thanks Kang for the help back then since it apparently prevented a bunch of casualties. Kang's just relieved the guy didn't mention that item he snatched and bolted with. Then Kim Lee-hyun casually says that for someone who only made it to stage 5, he's got a pretty nice sword. Wait, what kind of comment is that? Complimenting his sword like that? And he knows that blade only drops in stage 6. Kang shrugs it off, says he found it lying on the ground. Same excuse as always. Kim opens the system and says, it's fine. I can already tell you're not gonna be honest, no matter what I ask. Then he draws his sword and says that in that case, he'll fight with something he just happened to find too. And just like that, bam, the guy vanishes. A second later, he's already behind our muscle boy. Kang spins around, barely reacting in time to block the attack. The guy moved like a damn phantom. Kim compliments him, saying he thought Kang was just a meathead, but his reflexes are impressive too. Our boy replies that he's been through too much in life to ever let himself be an easy target again. The Dan instructor disappears once more, saying that if that's the case, then there's no reason to hold back. The guy's using that phantom technique, striking from every angle, but Kang's holding him back. Kim Lee-hyun's stunned. He can't believe this kid, fresh out of the tutorial, is managing to keep up with everything being thrown at him. Kang, on the other hand, is getting cut up all over and still muttering, This is what a real fight feels like. I'm honestly scared to see what he's gonna look like 15 chapters from now. Dude's gonna be 7 meters tall. in at 700 kilos of muscle and have the face of a cold-blooded killer, and the instructor's still shocked. The boy's regeneration was just as crazy as it looked. Kim shifts his grip on the sword and says that if that's the case, he doesn't need to hold back anymore. He launches a straight-on attack, saying he's about to create an opening that's impossible to dodge. Kang sees it coming and smiles. He blocks it by throwing his own arm into the blade. Kim Lee-hyun can't believe it. He can feel the bones in the kid's forearm cracking while this psycho just grins at him. Then Kang hits him with a gotcha, grabs him, clenches the sword with his bone and headbutts him hard. Kim's knocked off balance and goes down. Yeah, he really lost. But hey, no one was gonna beat that lunatic anyway. A while later, Kim's sitting there with some ice on his face, sipping a soda, saying that Kang is seriously weird, way too strong. Kang replies that Kim's pretty strong too. Plus, in a training match like this, you're not supposed to use your skills directly, though technically, Kim did use his. Kim says that in that case, he's the winner. Obviously, Kang isn't having it. They go back and forth until finally Kim gets up and thanks him, says it was a great match to blow off steam. Now he's gonna head back to his room and get a good night's sleep, because tomorrow, it's dungeon day. And apparently there's a hooded figure already planning to cause trouble in the exact dungeon they're headed to. The guy turns invisible, opens the gate, and slips inside. Next day, here they are standing right in front of that same gate. The dungeon is being used as a training ground for the academy. That's what the instructor says. It's an F-rank zone called the Keka Forest. And surprise, the monsters here are called Keka Monsters, mid-tier F-rank creatures. This place was chosen because first, it doesn't have major traps, and the monsters follow a pretty standard pattern. Second, Keka monsters don't form groups, so you can fight them one at a time, which is way safer for beginners. The rest of the details would be explained inside. The gate opens and Kang's hyped. It's his first dungeon since coming back to the real world. He'd never actually walked through one of these gates before. Strangely, the feeling you get when crossing it is like floating. Your vision blurs for a second, and the moment your feet touch solid ground again, you open your eyes to a completely different place. Kang's just standing there, amazed by the island. He asks how they're supposed to get back. Of course, Dan Yu-sung immediately answers that this was all explained in class, and obviously our boy didn't listen to a single lesson. Kim Lee-hyun steps in and says that first, they're going to hunt one monster together so everyone can see how it's done. After that, they'll split into groups and start the real hunt. He calls one of the instructors and tells him to lure over a couple of Kika. They're moving into a good area for combat, and Kim says he'll keep explaining once they're in the middle of it. The Kika look like oversized birds. They're known for their fast legs and super hard beaks, sharp enough to pierce metal. The standard strategy is to surround them so they don't know which direction to run. But just then, a system message pops up. The main core has been destroyed. The exit portal has opened. This dungeon is about to collapse. Everyone must evacuate. The entire place starts cracking apart, and Kim Lee-hyun tells everyone to stay calm and head toward the exit since the place is about to collapse. They had enough time, so there was no need to panic. Outside, everyone's gathered, clearly confused. They came out to train, so what the hell just happened? Kim Lee-hyun does a quick head count and sees that apparently everyone made it out safely. But what he really wants to know is who the hell finished that dungeon. Then one of the instructors suddenly calls out to him. When he looks over, the dungeon gate is now emitting a dark, eerie light, like some kind of portal. The instructor's face changes instantly, and he immediately orders reinforcements and tells all the trainees to step away from the gate. It wasn't just a collapse, this was a gate break. Kang asks what that means, and the guy is already thanking God he's there. He tells him a whole horde of monsters is about to come pouring out, and they're going to need his help to handle it. Clearly, our boy is ridiculously uninformed. He didn't even know what a gate break was. Turns out, someone destroyed the main core without killing the monsters. So now all the creatures are getting forcibly ejected out of the dungeon. I'm explaining it for you here. Meanwhile, the instructor is asking Kang if he really didn't learn this in class. Kang goes, "Of course I did. I was just testing you to see if you knew." The instructor tells him to cut the crap, especially because the monsters are already here. Right then, the first Kika shows up. The instructor rushes in, telling Kang, "Good luck. Hope you can handle this," and runs off to prep the rest of the group. Now our boy's standing there staring at a horde of creatures. He's like, how the hell am I supposed to deal with all of this by myself? Still, he's grinning hyped up, yelling for them to come at him. That's when Dan Yu-sung shows up, slamming his mace straight into the first one's skull. Thank God he's not drooling or blushing right now. Honestly, that's already a win. Kang asks what's up with this lunatic, laughing like the damn Joker out of nowhere. And just because I said that, yeah, here he goes again. Tongue out, blushing, saying crushing a skull with a mace is the best feeling ever. I've got the same expression Kang's making right now. Disgusted, horrified, completely over it. And now the blonde Sekko's in the middle of the battlefield yelling that he's not keeping this fun to himself. Kang draws his sword and says, "Well, at least the maniac's on my side," and charges into the fray, slashing down monsters left and right. Yu-sung's just watching, impressed. Our boy shouts that no one's got his back out there. He fights solo, then activates Lion's Roar, calling out all the bastards. Suddenly, all the monsters in the area take a hit to their stats and morale. Debuff activated. Everyone around seems to notice that out of nowhere, the fight got a little easier. And of course, the always attentive instructor notices right away. This was a debuff aura. Seeing how the group was holding their ground, he figured they'd last until reinforcements arrived. The only issue now, Kang doesn't faint. He's right there, Rasengan style, exploding enemies with a punch. But it wrecks his whole hand. What the hell is this, he mutters. Guess it's usable, for someone like me. He's basically immortal, so it works for him. But for anyone else, this would be completely unviable. Yu-sung instantly wants to know what that skill is and if Kang had access to something special in the tutorial. Kang just tells him it's a little secret. But right then, his expression changes. In the middle of all those monsters, a mutant Keika appears, clearly the dungeon boss. This was exactly what Hyun didn't want to happen. The boss showing up before support? Terrible timing. Even with Kang there, this wasn't going to be like fighting normal monsters. A boss fight was a whole other thing. He sees the two of them standing there, Kang and Yu-sung, and he's sure they won't make it. But then he catches a look at their faces, and now Kang, for some ungodly reason, has started sticking his tongue out. Put that thing away, kid. The next chapter kicks off saying that tomorrow is Celebration Day. They finished everything. Someone brings up the dungeon incident, and Lee Hyun explains that it turns out someone had entered the gate before they went in, which triggered the break. Most likely, it was the work of those dungeon terrorists that had been popping up over the past month. Looks like it's a girl speaking now. Aside from our guy's sister, women are clearly in short supply in this world. She asks if any of the students stood out. Lee Hyun says yes, two weird ones. The two who worked together to take down the break boss. One of them had absolutely insane physical strength. His power and reflexes were on par with that monster. But the strangest thing about him was his regeneration. He was oddly aggressive and had zero fear of injury. On top of that, he never seemed to tire. His fighting style was completely unpredictable, which made him hard to deal with. He just didn't care about anything. The other student was the total opposite. More of the typical genius type, a standout with natural combat talent. Quick thinker, sharp reactions. The only issue was his unusual tendency toward violence. The woman says that, setting all that aside, it's rare to see him giving out so much praise. She asks if he already sent an offer to recruit them. He reminds her that recruiting students at this stage is strictly prohibited. She looks like she wants to complain, but he cuts her off, saying he's just following the rules, just like the guild leader herself. And that would be her, Han Se-in, leader of the Dangan Guild. She's got that yander look in her eyes, and for some reason, she doesn't seem like the most mentally stable guild master out there. Then again, let's be real. No one in this story seems particularly sane. Cut to the graduation ceremony. Some old guy gives a speech congratulating them on the 10 days they spent training and becoming full-fledged hunters. That wraps up their official entry into the Hunter's Wall. Kang is surprised to see there's actually another person working here besides Kim Lee Hyun. As soon as he steps outside, he jumps because a damn butler shows up to let Yu-sung know his car has arrived. And this Lumitic drives a BMW, apparently covered in diamonds. Our boy is just standing there, shocked that this freak is actually rich. Yu-sung casually tells him to hop in. He's giving him a ride home. Kang just goes with it and starts getting in, until someone suddenly calls out to him. It's Kim Lee Hyun, saying he wants to talk. Kang points at him like a little kid, saying he didn't know the guy could be this friendly. Kim explains that because they helped defeat the dungeon boss during the break, both of them would receive a reward. Someone would reach out to them soon, so he should keep that in mind. Kang seems a little disappointed. He thought the guy had more to say. But Kim just turns around and starts walking away. Kang yells after him, telling him to compliment him properly. So the blonde turns around and gives him that speech. He admits that Kang is strong, and that he's only going to keep getting stronger. He wouldn't be surprised if he started seeing his name pop up in dungeon reports all over the place soon. But he should never forget the responsibility that comes with strength. He was a true awakened now. And why the hell did he put that weird thing on his face? He's walking through the room, telling his sister to take a look at the kid. He's got serious potential. She obviously couldn't care less. He tells her to stop underestimating him because starting tomorrow, Kang was going to be clearing dungeon after dungeon. That's when Kang stops and wonders. How does he even find dungeons? Like, are they on Google Maps or something? His sister says there's apparently a site for awakened people called Raiders, where you can see that kind of stuff. He grabs his phone, saying he's never even heard of it. She must be some kind of expert. She's just there wondering how her brother keeps getting dumber by the day. At least when he used to just sit in his room playing games, he seemed a little smarter. But now, as he scrolls through the app, our boy sees info on maps, monsters, and team recruitment. He remembers the Keika Forest was an F-ranked dungeon, and something like that he could easily handle solo. Maybe this was the perfect time to earn a fat paycheck and show off to his mom. On TV, they mentioned that the reward for clearing low-tier dungeons could go up to $20,000. And now there was this new hot item, Mana Stones. They were pulling serious attention and they came with bonus payouts. Basically, if you were a hunter, making money wasn't that hard. Cut to a familiar older guy, our boy's dad, calling out to his wife, asking if she talked to their son. She says yes. He transferred $10,000 for her to spend however she wanted. Apparently, he even bought a car last week. Looks like time has passed, huh? The dad's impressed. Finally, the kid's making more money than him. But the mom's still worried. She knows a lot of people get hurt, or worse, in this kind of work. She just hopes nothing bad happens to him. The dad says to let the kid live his life, better than being some unemployed adult sitting around. Besides, he heard that hunters go in groups, teams, even, so he's sure there's nothing to worry about. Their son wouldn't do anything reckless. He's probably got everything under control. Strangely enough, the mom agrees. She says he's always been a brilliant kid. Obviously, they haven't seen what their son's really become these past 18 chapters. He's in the dungeon, completely alone, slicing through everything, saying this is nothing, laughing like the Joker in a cave. Outside, his brand new car, a Bentley. He gets a call from his mom, but he's not picking up. The dad says it's whatever. They'll try it again in the morning. The mom says okay, but she did want to mention something, that weird gate that opened in front of the grocery store. The dad says not to worry. The government will send someone soon. She thinks maybe they should ask their son to come over with his team. The dad shuts that down quick. Definitely not a good idea. Meanwhile, guess what's happening? Yep, that dungeon gate. It's opening, and a whole swarm of orcs starts pouring out. And of course, the boss is right there with them. Back to our boy. Dawn is breaking, and he's just cleared another dungeon. He'd spent the whole night fighting. Now he's wondering if he should try one more. Maybe a rank E, or if that would be pushing it. He decides to take a break. Besides, he still doesn't know if resurrection actually works in real life. After all, he did die once. But the moment he opens his car and checks his phone, minus 36 missed calls from his sister. He calls her back asking what happened, and all he hears is a scream. She's shouting something about their mom and dad. We don't hear exactly what, but judging by his expression, it's bad, really bad. On the news, they're saying the government is doing everything it can in response to the dungeon break. The Ministry of National Defense is assembling a task force to minimize casualties. The problem? Some civilians were still trapped inside the affected area. That's why they had to call in the Dangan Guild. At the same time, our boy gets home, throws on his armor, and heads out. His sister asks if he's really going to do this. He tells her not to worry. He's Kang Hyun, a tutorial graduate. She can relax. He'll handle everything. She tells him to be careful and stop acting like some hotshot trying to get attention. He just says, don't worry, and waves goodbye. Slams the door. Tells her he'll be back soon with their mom and dad. Then floors it down the highway, face serious, ready for war. On the way, the cops try to stop him, saying he can't go any farther and needs to turn around. He just flashes that shiny little ID card. He's a registered awakened now. And just like that, the beast rolls through. The guy told him to be careful, so Kang saluted and hit the gas. While speeding down the road, he mutters to himself that it looks like 5 gate breaks happened at the same time. Even rank E dungeons were starting to collapse now before and only been the F ranks. He just needed them to hold out until he got there. Problem was, he wasn't sure he'd make it in time. But then, out of nowhere, a mutant boar comes crashing in, slams into a nearby car and sends it flying. What the hell? Kang walks out of the wreck like it's nothing, pulls out his sword, and tells the bastard to come at him, because today's the day he gets his revenge. But then the creature snorts and Kang realizes it's way bigger than any monster he's ever seen before. Right then though, he hears shouting coming from the end of the street. He glances over. Goblin horde. He wonders if he murdered the Goblin King in a past life, because these damn things show up every time. So he turns and starts running, saying there's a saying, the best revenge is forgiveness. Of course, the boar charges after him, but weirdly, the goblin starts shooting it with arrows. Kang cheers. If these bastards want to fight, let them fight each other. That he expected. Apparently, these monster races are aggressive toward one another. Problem is, it's getting dark. Wait, how long has he been in this forest? He left the dungeon in the morning, which means he's been out here for hours. His battery's dying. He can't use his flashlight, and it's getting harder and harder to find the right path. Then once again, he senses something approaching from behind. What now? He spins, swings his sword, and slices through a wolf. Thank God it was just a wolf. Though honestly, if it had been a person, they'd be dead. He realizes it attacked him invisible, and the only reason he landed the hit was pure instinct. Then he feels more movement coming from the sides. He's surrounded again. Let the boy save his parents. Damn it. At least he's trained now. He draws his sword and shreds everything around him. And now he's into it. He's yelling at them to bring it on. All of it. By the next morning, he's still in the forest, waking up in a pile of wolf blood. He fought all night through the dawn and only now gets to catch his breath. But it's time to get moving again. Back at his parents' house, they're trying to reach him. His mom's texting, while the dad tells her to keep quiet. He asks if Kang's still not responding. She says it's weird. The sister had told her he was on his way, but now it's feeling too risky. The dad, who earlier said everything was fine, doesn't sound so confident anymore. Those monsters, orcs they're called, have been showing up since yesterday, and apparently even high-level hunters are struggling with them. The news says they came from an F-rank dungeon, supposed to be weak, but clearly that's not the case. And there's another thing, some terrifying figure out there in the streets, a monster that's killing monsters. The dad watches from the window, squinting at this lone figure and muttering, there's no way my son could be doing that. Oh, just wait till he finds out. Our boy had turned that entire street into a war zone. 15 orcs were easy for him to handle solo, but more were coming around the corner. And oddly enough, these weren't normal ones. There were 3 warrior-class orcs. As far as he knew, those were supposed to be bosses. Maybe this was actually a rank E dungeon, not if like he thought. Suddenly, he shouts out, calling for his mom and dad. Their son had arrived to save them. His mom stares at the figure, squinting, wondering if that thing was really her child. And the dad's standing there like, what the hell happened over the past few months? But Kang, he's already dashing forward. The orcs come screaming, he rushes in, blocks the first attack. Another one stabs at him, but he ducks under it and blasts a crater into the monster's jaw. With one down, he grabs the sword of another. But just then, he takes a punch that shatters his bone. But this kid is unstoppable. He's died so many times that now he just keeps going, stabs another monster, tosses it into the air like it's nothing. Another goes down and he literally makes it eat his fist. Then boom, he activates mana explosion inside the creature's skull, and yeah, it was expected, but still, bloodbath. And now he's completely surrounded. Must be around 200 of them. Bro, where are South Korea's awakened hunters at right now? Hello? Of course, in the middle of all that, one of them stomps the ground so hard it shakes everything. Kang looks up, and damn, that thing is huge. A great orc warrior, well, at least the name fits. Our boy immediately knows. That's the leader of the pack, and he's ugly. Kang wanted to save his mana for regeneration, but it's time to pull out Titan strength. His muscles tighten, he inhales deep, and then he roars. Lion's roar activated. He calls all the bastards to come at him, and then promptly gets decked in the face and falls over like a damn idiot. Apparently, they surrounded him like a Fight Club circle, pushing him into a one-on-one. He realizes these monsters are actually toying with him. They're taking turns, punch to the face, kick to the gut, smash to the floor. Worst part, his mana's out. His body isn't regenerating anymore, and he's still not entirely sure if he'll actually resurrect in real life. But he's not in the mood to find out. So he stands up, no teeth in his mouth, blood everywhere, and roars back. I'm not leaving my family here. He charges again, but then he spots them. Goblins climbing toward his parents' window. He freezes for a second and screams, "Don't you dare go yoop there." He sprints over, but they grab his back. He slashes another down. But the biggest orc slams his head straight into the ground. His vision fades. He mutters he can't die here. And then, the golden slash tears through the monster. Someone arrived, and she's badass. It's our new guild leader, Han-seon everyone. And she's brutal and beautiful. She turns around and someone reports that their team just secured the safe zone. She asks about the civilians and the guy says most have been evacuated. She's a bit shaken. The damage is worse than expected. But at least someone managed to gather the orcs in one place and make the job easier. She then asks, where's the guy who was holding them back until we arrived? The guy replies, unfortunately, he didn't make it. She nods and says, I understand. Don't toss any bodies away. Treat him with respect. He's a hero. Then she glances down, and the body's gone. Cut to Kang opens his eyes. Where? We don't know. Chapter ends. Next chapter, there he is, our boy, lying under the same tree he last slept at. Resurrection activated. He barely escaped the crisis. Because he hadn't set a location, he respawned in the last place he'd rested. But now, for the next 24 hours, he's at 50% strength, and he lost 1 level, meaning 1 attribute point gone. Immediately, his memory flashes back to the goblin near his parents' window. It's been 24 hours. He grabs his sword and runs, saying he has to find out what happened, or at least kill those monsters. Problem is, his body feels heavy as hell. That's the cost of resurrection. After 5 hours of running with that exhausted body, he arrives, only to find his parents' house abandoned and empty. He's devastated. He turns around and starts heading home. On the way, he runs into a group of soldiers. He asks to borrow a phone. When he finally calls him, he finds out his father lost an arm. His mother is in a coma. And then, 2 months pass. On the news, they announce that Han-seon, the leader of the Dangan Guild, has entered yet another dungeon. This one, rank C. At the exact same time, Kang is seen heading out. His sister asks if he's really going into another dungeon. He says, yeah, he's going again. His sister tells him to be more careful. It feels like he's died 3 times just this week. While she's trying to say that what happened wasn't his fault, he just closes the door behind him and heads down the stairs. She opens the door and just stands there, staring at her brother, not even knowing what to say anymore. Meanwhile, in the dungeon known as Antria, a blonde dude is slicing through giant ants and leveling up fast. The others in his group congratulate him, saying he levels like crazy. Not surprising, he's the strongest one in the party. But this guy, he's smug, thinking to himself how these fools have no clue he's part of the elite, someone who made it to stage 5, unlike all these losers. Still, he plays friendly, turns around with a smile and says, it's all thanks to you guys. Couldn't have done it without such an amazing team. Yeah, real piece of work. That's when they all hear something weird. They look to the side, and it's Kang, sword half broken, sprinting like a madman. They're all like, is this lunatic charging into the dungeon alone? He blows past them. The blonde calls out, saying that way leads to the core. It's suicide. Kang doesn't even respond. Now the group's debating, do they follow him? Do they head back? Their leader says they'll follow for now. If anything starts going south, they pull out immediately and leave the guy to his fate. Back with Kang, he's already surrounded by a swarm of Antria soldiers. Basically, giant armored ants. He activates a skill called Wayne's Secret Technique, an E-rank ability that boosts all attributes by 40% except mana. But the downside, it physically destroys the body over time. Classic berserker stuff, right? The ants all swarm him, but Kang's smiling like a maniac, slashing everything in sight. Within seconds, it's just a pile of bodies. The group in the back is completely stunned. Kang walks toward the core, commenting that this newly acquired skill pairs perfectly with his regeneration. Turns out, not long ago, he upgraded his recovery to rank A. Then someone calls out. It's the blonde guy asking if he's okay. Kang just replies, yeah, and keeps walking. Doesn't say anything else, just grabs the core and says, later, and walks off. The team finds it odd. He hadn't taken any of the loot from the monsters. They all go collecting, figuring he's just some dumbass who doesn't understand money. But Kang's walking off, mumbling to himself that he doesn't have time to care about stuff like that. What he needs is strength. He leaves and the group's still standing there, confused, trying to figure out who that madman even was. The blonde just shrugs, says he doesn't care, it got rich thanks to him, and that's good enough. As they're leaving, the bald guy speaks up. Maybe that's him, that guy they talk about, the one who raids dungeons alone. The blonde scoffs. No way, that's just a rumor. And this is a rank E dungeon, not some F-level walkthrough. No one solos this kind of thing. Not even Han Sayin, and she's the strongest around right now. But right then, it's just a message. The core has been removed. The portal is now open. Of course, Kang had already cleared the whole place. Now he's sitting on top of a giant ant corpse, flipping through a book he found. Integument of Antria, an F-rank skill book that teaches how to use the integument, a kind of hardened outer skin. Basically, body armor mode. Honestly, it's like turning your whole body into Viagra. But Kang's problem is that juggling all these constantly active skills is getting rough. Adding another one that has to stay on? Kinda pointless. More and more abilities weren't making him better, they were just overloading him. Just like Bilgain's sword and the Berserker ability, this one was kind of a waste on someone who already had insane regeneration. Especially since the last time he went Berserk, he completely lost control and nearly got himself killed. But now wasn't the time for regrets. The only thing he could do was become stronger, no matter the cost. With no better options, he just goes ahead and learns the skill. Outside the dungeon, a couple of reporters are gathered, talking about the rumors of a man who clears dungeons all by himself, and word was, he had entered this one today. The blonde guy tells them it's not anyone from his group, and then he points. The monster was coming out. Kang steps through the gate in full lazy swagger mode, one hand on his neck, glaring like he didn't get enough sleep. He clearly didn't want any attention, but boom, he's instantly swarmed by reporters, cameras, questions flying from every angle, business cards being shoved in his face. He's just walking through the chaos when he bumps into some guy. The dude asked, hey, what was that for? Kang just stares him down and says, what are you gonna do about it? The guy immediately freaks out and apologizes. And just like that, our boy walks away, leaving everyone with the sinking feeling that if they even breathe wrong, they die on the spot. He reaches his car, opens the door, muttering how these people are wasting his time for absolutely nothing. Then, someone calls his name. He turns around. Another one. The guy calmly says, relax, I'm here to help you. He hands over a card. The name reads Sun Yun Ho from the Awakened Association. The guy tells Kang they've been watching him for a while, and if he ever wanted to join, he'd get access to all their resources. No need to answer now, just call anytime. He gives a polite thank you and disappears before Kang can even say a word. The Awakened Association, they're different from the guilds. They're not all about money. They focus on scouting talent and national defense. Kang didn't even know they recruited like that. And honestly, watching him eat that cup ramen just made me crave it too. While he's sitting there munching, a woman tells her daughter not to get close, says that man is a monster. But Kang's deep in thought. His biggest issue right now is mana. Maintaining regeneration, Wayne's technique, and Berserker mode all at once was becoming impossible. He had to keep rotating between them, and it was starting to get inefficient. After digging around online, he knows what he needs, an item that restores mana. He checks the market to browse the listings, but finds nothing that's actually useful. Looks like he can only equip 4 items with active effects, no matter what type they are. And he's not looking for some weak little item that adds +1 or +2 to his stats. He needs something good, something that'll last. That's when he spots a post minus 128 views from someone claiming to have info about a dungeon that drops a ring that boosts magic power. Next day, he's reading the guy's follow-up comment. Apparently, it's an E-ranked dungeon called Goblin Village, located in Harem. Bro, this artist really has a thing for goblins. The post says that the shamans in that area have a small chance to drop the ring. Usually, the ring gives +1 or +2 to magic power, but there's a rare version that can give +4. And rumor has it, if you kill the Grand Shaman, the boss of the dungeon, you might get something even better. But no one's sure. A bunch of people are apparently using the place to farm, but the guy's worried about a possible dungeon break, so he shared the info hoping someone would finish it soon. Kang shows up at the site, but the gate looks abandoned. He expected there to be guards or a line, since so many people were supposed to be farming it. But no one in sight. So he shrugs, opens the gate, and steps through. On the other side, he finds himself in what looks like a forest, and immediately runs into the trio of trouble. Yo, my guy, you're rocking some pretty sweet gear. We're gonna make a killing today, says the one with the greasy hair. His buddy smirks. Yeah, today's bonus is gonna hit nice. And the last one, the crazy girl says, I dreamed of a big fat pig last night. I got good feeling. Oh great, she's completely unhinged. The idiot stands up and says, "Kid, don't you know this is Bait Guild territory?" Kang just gives him a look. Then the girl chimes in and asking if he has any clue what happens when someone trespasses on a guild's turf without permission. According to her, he has to hand over everything he's got if he wants to leave alive. 1 second later, boom, one of them's already been launched across the area, crashing into the ground, foaming at the mouth. Kang's just standing there, arm outstretched. The other two quickly open their cistern windows. One of them charges with a sword, but Kang grabs the blade with his bare hand. Snap, crushed it like a twig, and then straight kick to the gut sent the guy rolling like a barrel. The girl tries to jump in with some magic, firing a spell from behind, but it barely does anything. She's pale now, trembling, realizing she's in real trouble. Let's see if Kang hits both genders the same. He approaches her slowly, saying he actually learned something useful from her. Then he gently takes her hand and says, "In return, I'll teach you something good too." He activates his skill, and her arm explodes. Yeah, no special treatment here. Just then, he notices a larger group approaching. He squints and asks, "Who are these guys?" One of them steps forward and says, "Pretty bold of you to act like this in Bait's territory. If he wants to walk out alive, he better give up everything." Kang shrugs. "Perfect. I needed some guides anyway." One of the Bait guys starts going off. "The tutorial changed my life. In the dungeons, strength and cash rule everything. I was just another tool of society until last year. Now I live large thanks to this new world. As an executive in Bait, I'm a tiger with wings. Nothing scares me here. So you better hand over your stuff if you want to leave breathing." Before it even finishes, wham! A giant hand smacks him across the face. Lights out. When he opens his eyes, everyone is passed out. Kang, annoyed, is pulling a knife out of his side, pointing to the ones still awake. "You have 5 seconds to get over here. Whoever doesn't line up in time dies. I need a guide." Time passes. Eventually, Kang announces the results of his selection process. "Congratulations, Kim Sung. You've been chosen as the guide." Everyone give him a round of applause. Silence. So Kang slaps someone. Suddenly, clap, clap, clap. They're all applauding like their lives depend on it. Because they do. One guy nervously asks, Sir, what's going to happen to us now?" Kang pauses, then asks, "Are you all going to stop doing bad things and live honest lives from now on?" Huge smiles all around. "Yes, sir. Of course. We'll never do anything bad again." Smack, right to the face. "Yeah, right," Kang says. "You think I'm buying that crap? No chance." He beats the guy until he's purple and unconscious. Then he calls for Kim Sung. "Show me the way." As the sun sets, Kang remarks that not every dungeon is like this, but some have layouts and scales as large as cities. After hours of walking, he turns to Sung. "Hey, you're not just making us walk in circles, are you?" Sung quickly denies it. "No way, I wouldn't want to stay here longer than I have to. I'm just following the safe path around the monsters." Kang sighs. "You idiot. Stop following that useless route. Go in a straight line. I'll handle the monsters." Sung hesitates. "Okay then, if that's how you want it, we'll do it your way tomorrow." While they stopped for a quick meal, the guy kept wondering why our boy used 4 swords just to build a simple support for the fire. Not long after, things were starting to heat up, and our boy pulls something out of the makeshift oven, barehanded, gripping the hot metal like it's nothing. He's munching down and casually asks the guy, "So how old are you?" 25, the guy replies. Kang follows up, "What were you doing before all this mess?" The dude hesitates, clearly uncomfortable, and says he was just desperate for money. His student loan debt piled up and he couldn't find work anywhere. To make things worse, his dad's business went under and the whole situation went downhill. His mom had a breakdown over it all. But Kang cuts him off. "Who the hell asked for your sob story?" The guy blinks, thinking, "Didn't you just ask me?" But Kang's already waving him off. "Just eat and stop whining." They'd finish eating, then lie down for the night. Kang wraps himself in a weird cocoon of blankets like some warm creature. The other guy's stuck with a thin cover, shivering underneath. In the middle of the night, he gets up. Looking at our boy sleeping like that, he thinks, this might be my only shot to kill him. But just remembering how that psycho fights, nope, probably a terrible idea. Better to just run. The moment he takes a step, Kang's voice cuts through the silence. "Where do you think you're going?" The guy stammers, "Jay just going to pee." Kang shrugs. "Cool, go right here then." And just to be clear, if he tries to run, Kang will hunt him down and kill him. So yeah, the guy lies back down and doesn't even blink the rest of the night. Next morning, he's guiding Kang again. Finally, they reach the direction of the goblin village. Kang says he can feel a ridiculous amount of mana pulsing from that direction. The guy looks around confused. "I don't feel anything." Kang just looks at him like he's trash. It's amazing how weak and useless you are. The poor guy can only laugh nervously and try not to cry. Still, deep down, he's thinking, all I gotta do is survive a little longer. Once this freak walks in there, he's dead meat. The dungeon is a massive village with patrols circling the outskirts. The Bait Guild guys usually farm those patrols since the center is way too dangerous. But lately, Bait hasn't launched any raids for days, so not only are there monsters swarming the forest, the goblin base itself is probably overflowing. Kang walks straight into a goblin army, grins like a maniac, draws his sword and says, "Goblin massacres are my specialty." A massive battalion comes charging from the base, and Kang's just getting hyped. But right then, a backpack smacks him from behind. It's Sung, flipping him off. Go die in that hellhole. Hope I never see that ugly face again. Kang just turns with that pure psycho look in his eye. When I'm done here, I will find you. Meanwhile, Sung sprints through the woods, heart pounding. He stops to catch his breath and thinks, there's no way even that monster survives this. But then, ding, a system window pops up, main core destroyed. Portal to outside world opened. They just stare at the message, then look at each other like, is this some kind of dream? The Goblin Village's E-rank dungeon wasn't your typical kind with a regular core. That's because all the forces were actually concentrated on defending the center. Even so, my guy, the message still popped up, it was done. The core had been destroyed and the portal was open. He's just standing there staring at the portal in front of him, shaking like crazy. That bastard actually handled the whole thing on his own. But he has no idea how anyone could possibly pull that off alone against that ridiculous number of enemies. He saw the kid's strength, and even though the kid was strong, it just didn't seem like enough. Kang chimes in saying the guy doesn't have the firepower to wipe everything out. Sure, he's powerful, but that's not the point of this mission, my dude. What really matters here is absolute defense. The kid's pushing forward, torn up and full of cuts, but somehow he's healing as he goes, just marching straight ahead. The only way he could have done it that fast is by heading directly in a straight line toward the High Shaman. And Kim Sung, that guy's freaking out now, realizing that bastard didn't just survive, he pushed through all of it without even blinking. Right in front of the boss, Hyun says the answer is always the same. Brute strength solves everything, and he goes straight for the boss's mouth with his hand. I mean, his hand goes to the boss's mouth, not his mouth to the boss's hand. Anyway, the High Shaman dies, he scores a shiny little stone and a +0 ring. It boosts mana regeneration and gives him +4 to magic power. The little rascal's already loading up his fingers with rings, looking all excited. Now it's time to take down that bastard Kim Sung. But as soon as he steps out of the portal, a little squad's waiting for him outside. First thing he does is ask the air bandit what the hell the whole squad's doing there. Obviously, he's already got a pretty good idea. He starts scanning the crowd and yup, spots the big shot right there among them. And just like that, our boy perks up, clearly itching to crack someone in the skull. But suddenly, someone steps forward with a smile, saying there's been a little misunderstanding. The guy walks up and says they're not here to fight, just want to have a quick chat. He thinks the guild members made a mistake, but he's here now, Yoon Hyun from the Bait Guild, and he wants to know the kid's name. Kang, though, isn't interested in sharing. He tells them to cut the crap and just say what they came for. So Hyun goes straight to the point. They want the kid to join the Bait Guild, a place where fame and fortune would be within his reach. They'd even give him an executive title. Hyun's standing there all smug, fully aware the kid's a rare talent, a hidden gem. Having someone like him on their side would be perfect to boost the guild's influence. But of course, Kang just flat out says he's not interested. Hyun reaches into his pocket like he expected that and pulls out a gold card, telling him to reach out whenever he changes his mind. The kid gives it a glance, tears it in half, and drops it right on the ground. Says that sure, his personality might be trash, but even he wouldn't stoop down to their level. Everyone's frozen, and he steps right up to the guy's face, asking if he's pissed and looking to start a fight. But Hyun just says no, it's all good. He just wanted to talk today, that's all. No fighting here. Our boy walks off, calling them a bunch of cowards. Cool to even muster the guts to pick a fight, those pathetic losers. And Kim Sung, he's standing there like, that lunatic's completely out of his damn mind. Seems like it really shook him up, but we cut back to our guy, saying he almost got wrecked that time. There were over 100 enemies in front of him, and he was pretty much out of mana. If they had gone for real, he probably would have died and lost 48 hours of his life. And to top it off, he missed his chance to finish off that bastard Sung. But don't worry, his time's coming. Back at the Bait Guild, the bruised guy says it was Sung himself who suggested he'd serve the kid and help guide him through the forest and everything else. Yoon Hyun asks if that's true. Sung tries to backpedal, but one of the guys has already pulled out a sword. The poor guy starts begging for mercy, swearing he'll do anything if they just don't kill him. The guy asks if he really means anything, and when he nods, the other one snaps, demanding how a cursed traitor like him can still want to live. He grabs him, kicks him hard, and sends him flying. Actually, not just into the water, he gets thrown straight into the dungeon, and they slam the gate shut behind him. What the hell was that? Oh, right, for some reason my brain keeps assuming everyone comes back to life in this world, but the only one who actually does is the protagonist. So yeah, that guy really died. And just like that, he stole our boy's chance at revenge. Bastard. The leader tells someone to pick up the guy's sword and dig up everything they can on the one who is in the dungeon. And of course, someone's already tailing our boy's car. Not shady at all. Meanwhile, the leader's talking about how that brat had the guts to turn down his offer. He can act all high and mighty if he wants. He is powerful. But what about the people around him? Are they that strong too? If they can't control the kid, they just need to get to one of his weak points. Let's see how long he keeps up that cocky attitude. Oh no, don't go down that path, or you'll turn him into something even worse. At a cozy little Korean restaurant, our boy is eating with his sister. She says she never thought her lazy brother, who used to stay locked in his room all day, would actually take her out for something nice. He tells her of course he's going to spend his money here. Nothing in life is more important than food. She asks him to pass the tongs and he changes the subject, asking how things went at the hospital. How's their mom doing? She explains the doctor said their mom seems stable and should be waking up soon. He smiles, saying that's great news. She says she's genuinely surprised. It's been a while since she's seen him this relaxed. Lately, he always seems angry or on edge. He says he's been smiling, but she tells him that creepy grin of his obviously doesn't count. Suddenly, though, he clutches his stomach and says he needs to use the bathroom. And I've got this bad feeling when he gets back, she might be gone and things might spiral out of control. So he heads to the bathroom, washes his hands, dries them, and walks back out only to see a guy sitting there talking to her. He asks who it is, and the guy turns around and bows. Kang hasn't picked up on it yet. He thinks the guy's just trying to hit on his sister. But she says something about it felt strange because the guy seemed to know who he was. Our boy's confused and she hands him a slip of paper saying the guy asked her to pass it along. He takes a look already suspicious. If the guy knew who he was, why did he walk away the second he saw him? But then his expression changes. The message is short, just a casual hello from the Bait Guild's leader along the phone number. But the message couldn't have been clearer. Back home, they're walking in when his sister mentions she forgot to grab some beer. She wants to head out and buy some, but of course he says no. He'll go. She should stay put. At first, I thought he was heading out for revenge, but nope, he really just went to pick up the beer. Still, on the way, his thoughts are racing, wondering what those bastards are planning. No way in hell they're trying to get close to his family. Maybe he should stop spending so much time in dungeons and stay home more often. Whatever their plan is, this one feels like the worst of all. Just then, his phone buzzes. It's a message from his dad. When he answers, his dad asks if he's at home. He tells him no, he's out. And that's when his dad tells him their mom just woke up. Our boy immediately wants to know how she's doing and breathes a huge sigh of relief knowing she's getting better. Then his dad adds one more thing, says a friend stopped by earlier. Now he's confused, what friend? And then his dad says it was that childhood buddy of his, Yui Hyun from the Bait Guild, who even asked to say hi and mentioned he lived nearby. Yeah, that shut our boy right up. His dad keeps calling out to him, but his face just freezes, his whole expression tightening up. Next day at the Talented Association, two girls are arriving, chatting about something when someone walks by and greets them with a good morning. They turn to the side and call out Miss Shin Sun-ha. Now that girl, she's tough, literally, and not the friendly kind of tough, more like the terrifying kind. She hands them some bottles, the girls thank her, and she politely says it's nothing and takes off. They're left wondering why that lunatic is always wearing armor. The other girl says she's a bit eccentric, sure, but deep down she's a good person. Still, she better get used to it. This world's full of weirdos. Compared to most, Shin-sung has basically an angel reborn. The friend replies that she's dealt with plenty of oddball students. The other one says, yeah, those were probably the worst students she ever had. One of them crushed a girl's hand in a spar, and the other showed up to the front desk already throwing off major intimidation vibes. She still has nightmares about that kid. And look who's right there behind them, suddenly letting out a pulse of aura. She glances over, and he's staring right back. A glance, a stare, and just like that, the two girls scream in panic. But he just walks up to them looking completely harmless, calling out to them. Meanwhile, they're already pulling out their phones, getting ready to call the cops for help. One of them is completely red in the face. He asks her to calm down. He just wants to know where Mr. Kim Lee-hyun is. He needs to protect his family and he's looking for this guy. They finally start to ease up a bit, realizing he's not trying to hurt anyone. One of them explains that Kim Lee-hyun was just working as a temporary instructor there, but he's not around anymore. Cut to a meeting room where Lee-hyun's giving a little presentation about how dungeon levels are rising. Then someone knocks on the door. He asks what's going on, and the staff tells him there's some really strong guy in the lobby causing a scene, insisting he needs to speak with him. Lee-hyun's clearly confused, but next scene, they're already sitting face to face. He says he didn't expect to see him again so soon, and asks what he needs help with. Kang gets right to the point. He wants to hire Lee-hyun. The guy chuckles, saying he appreciates the direct approach, but he'd like to hear the full story. Kang doesn't hold back. He says the Bait Guild is threatening his family and provoking him, and now he needs someone to guard them while he goes out and wipes the entire guild off the map. Lee-hyun is clearly shaken, asking what the hell is going on with this kid, but admits he knows how shady that guild is. The problem is the association hasn't been able to catch them red-handed. There's no solid justification to go after them officially. Kang says, well then perfect. He'll destroy them all, and everyone wins. Lee-hyun just shakes his head, saying Kang is as brutal as ever. What he really wants to know is, why him? It's not like he's the strongest out there, and besides, he's part of the Dangan Guild. Kang Hyun's logic is simple. He says Lee-hyun is just the strongest person he knows. That's it. Lee-hyun replies that he should have called Mr. Yu-sung instead, but of course, our boy says there's no way he's trusting his family with that weird snake-tongued creep. All he asks for is 1 week. If his family stays safe during that time, he'll pay big, like serious money. But Lee-hyun says, look, not to brag, but he already makes more money than the kid probably thinks. On top of that, he's the vice leader of the Dangan Guild. If Kang wants him to take the job, he's gonna have to offer something more than just cash. And right then, Kang already has an idea. He asks if the guy's after his body. Hyun immediately snaps back, asking if he came here to make a deal or to tell jokes. Since he's sure the kid's only going to spout nonsense if left unchecked, he puts an offer on the table. Not a huge one, but enough. If he helps our boy out for a week, then in return, he'll have to agree to meet the guild master. Come on over, boss lady. Why is he so hyped about this madness? Of course there's money involved too, but that part's up to Kang. He'll need to make sure it happens. Judging by how things are moving, it looks like he accepted. There are guards in front of the hospital now, 5 cameras installed, a private security company watching over his sister. They've got full tracking in place. Our boy says they're being extra cautious, and Hyun replies that it's better to be safe than sorry. What Lee Hyun really wants to know, though, is whether Kang's seriously planning to handle the rest on his own, because here they are standing face to face with the Bait Guild headquarters. Looking from a distance, Kang comments that it doesn't look that big compared to others. Kang explains that obviously, a guild's strength isn't measured by the size of their building. Bait's power comes from their control over multiple abnormal dungeons. No doubt they've got skilled players, and they're backed by some rare items too. It seems like Kang's heading to a meeting with them, and naturally, they're bringing out all their top firepower. Kang explains he didn't really have a choice. When he got that letter, he agreed to set a date, mostly just to buy time and stop them from going after his family. And at least it worked. He got enough time to lock down their safety. He then hands the car keys to the blonde guy, who's confused and asks why he's being given this. Kang just tells him to park it back at his place. The guy's worried now, wondering if Kang's walking into a death trap. And honestly, he's not entirely wrong. But Kang tells him he doesn't have time to explain. Tomorrow morning he'll be alive and well, no doubt about it. With that, he gives a wave and heads off. Now here we are at the Bait Guild. And for an evil organization, their logo is surprisingly cute. Pretty corporate looking even. That bastard Yoo Hyun is there with arms wide open, welcoming him in, surrounded by a crowd, obviously. Kang says that's a lot of people for a meeting that was supposed to be just the 2 of us. What's the deal? Hyun tells him not to stress. Since Kang isn't part of the family yet, he needs to meet everyone first. Our boy laughs. Family, huh? Then says, well, in that case, I've got a message for the whole family. And he drops it. You could all go to hell. With that, he activates Lion's Roar and pulls everyone in. Boom! Shockwave hits the ground, smoke everywhere, total confusion. Portals flashing, the floor cracking apart, and Hyun yelling that Kang's completely insane. Suddenly, a metal bar shoots up and Kang's already drawing his sword. Aaron-style technique engaged, Titan strength flowing, and he charges straight in. At first, it looked like he summoned metal, but no. He actually shattered the floor and dropped everyone into a massive underground arena, a training facility, right under the guild. As the dust settles, they're lifting rubble off themselves, saying the impact wasn't bad at all. But then Hyun calls out, asking him to be a little more reasonable. It's not too late. They could still be allies. Kang answers that he's not the one who lost his mind. That happened the moment Hyun crossed the line. Hyun doesn't back down. He pleads for Kang to calm down, saying he needs to understand. If they work together, even the Dangan Guild wouldn't be able to compete. Kang just tells him to shut up. But unfortunately, Hyun won't stop talking. He goes on saying their guild now has over 200 members inside this very building. So really Kang's chances of getting out alive are slim to none. He should think carefully. All the Bait Guild ever needed was one famous face. Just one person strong enough to be the front line. Someone to carry the name and reputation of the whole organization. Right in the middle of the speech, Kang spits in his face and says he sounds like a kid giving a class presentation. He should leave the world of guilds behind and go be a YouTuber instead. The guy wipes his face and just stares at him. Then he starts trembling and says he knew it. A broke, miserable nobody like Kang would never understand the ambition behind a great guild like Bait. But look at Kang's expression. He's laughing right in the guy's face. He asks if everyone up top heard that the guy just called him a commoner. Kind of a weird word choice for someone in the 21st century. The idiot probably thinks he's some kind of aristocrat. Kang's practically on the verge of exploding. And with that, Hyun tells everyone to attack. He wants to see how long Kang can keep running his mouth once things get serious. Suddenly, the whole room lights up with spells. Man restriction, mental corruption, void magic, confusion. Every kind of ability you can think of, every color flashing in all directions. But Kang Han, he just activates Lion's Roar again. Most of the debuffs are instantly purged, and the few that still land, the resistance ring gives him an extra bonus against them. On top of that, the enemy's morale drops fast. Yoo Hyun starts yelling, calling the group a bunch of fools. They should stop hesitating and go in for the kill already. But nobody's brave enough to get close. They're all keeping their distance and casting spells from far away. Then Kang uses that skill from Antreus, the one that turns his skin pitch black. He says he wants to find out what it does against magic. An explosion blasts through the room. The remaining soldiers finally rush forward. Now they're really going in. Attacks flying from every side, until out of nowhere, a wave of slashes cuts through them first. Kang struck before any of them could. The leader can't believe it. This guy is handling everything completely alone. Then Kang draws in a deep breath and shouts, daring them all to come at him together. Some time passes, and now the entire building is in ruins, reduced to nothing but ashes. There stands Kang Han, still on his feet, while the others are completely wrecked, lying in pools of blood. But even so, he's clearly not in great shape either, and there are still plenty of enemies standing nearby. Yoo Hyun tries to act unfazed and asks if Kang has realized he doesn't have a way out. On top of that, he's killed dozens of people. He's just like them now, killer. So maybe it's time to consider joining their side. Kang tells him to quit trying to make him feel guilty. They were the ones going around killing people. They should have been ready for it when the tables turned. Kun growls that Kang sure is keeping his cool for someone who's about to die. He might be acting confident, but even he must know how drained he is by now. Suddenly, steel bars shoot up from the floor and trap him in place. But Kang says that's not what's happening here. Still, in that exact moment, maybe it is, because he gets stabbed from behind right through the back. As he lies there dying, he thinks that at least he held out long enough. Maybe that was enough. Yoo Hyun walks over, praising the Vice Master, but says he'll be the one to land the final blow. He wants to handle it personally. The leader's thoughts are racing. He can't believe this kid is still alive after all those wounds. He's so good that he'd trade the entire guild just to have someone like him on the team. But he walks closer and says the worst thing is a beast that's completely out of control. He asks Kang if he's got any last words. Kang smiles and says, from now on, every bowl of soup you eat is going to have a hair in it. Maybe that's some kind of Korean curse or insult. The leader mutters that this guy is seriously going to keep up the tough act until the very end. He puts his hand on Kang's face, and that's it. Cooked. Damn, that death was brutal. Stabbed, set on fire. Insane. He turns to the Vice Master and asks about the situation. The guy explains they lost 30 members, and another 50 were injured. Furious, the leader yells that all of this just because of one worthless bastard. But whatever. In the end, it was all to get the gear that dropped from his body anyway. Bet and his friend tells him to take a look. Something's off. The kid's body had disappeared. Yup, he revived and lost a level. On top of that, his stats were cut in half for the next 24 hours. He walks into his room and his sister immediately gives him a sharp look, saying she figured he wouldn't do it again. If he's coming out of his room and she didn't see him come in through the door, that must mean he died. So clearly, he went out and risked his life again. He just tells her to stop nagging. He's starving. But she snaps back, telling him to take off his shoes. Is tracking dirt all over the place. And it turns out, the ashes he's leaving behind, they're his. Literal ashes from being burned alive. Lovely. 2 days later, in front of a dungeon controlled by the Bait Guild at the gates of Kika's Canyon, one of the guys on watch complains that he's bored out of his mind. Seems like no one ever shows up here. The blonde guy says that it's because people are spreading rumors about the Bait Guild, so wherever they go, folks stay away. The first guy says everyone's a coward these days, so what if they're taking some of the loot and making things harder? People should still come grind here if they want to make money. Right then, his expression changes. He says someone's coming. They don't recognize who it is yet, but look who's walking up wearing a mask. He stops right in front of them. The two stare at him and ask who this weirdo is. After that invasion, Kang realized something. Charging into their base over and over is like trying to break a rock with an egg. Sure, he's got infinite lives, so technically he has infinite eggs, but the problem is that resurrection penalties would eventually drag him down to level 1 and leave him too weak. That's why the plan had to change. Now it's time to take this rotten guild down from the inside. And inside the dungeons they've been controlling, everyone's already dead. One of the blonde guys is begging for forgiveness, but Kang wants to know, what exactly is he apologizing for? The guy admits he's not sure. He just wants to know why he's being killed. Kang throws him to the floor and tells him not to apologize if he doesn't even know the reason. Then he tosses a paper next to him and orders him to write down the names of every dungeon the Bait Guild is managing. The guy doesn't hesitate at all, zero delay. He grabs the pen and says, okay, then starts writing. But Kang wants to know, how is it that they never get caught? Even though they killed so many people? Even if they were careful, something should have leaked out eventually. Are they pretending to be authorities? Do they have someone planted on the inside? What kind of ability are they using? The blonde guy says he's heard something about the police, but doesn't know the full story. It sounds like it has something to do with dungeons that don't have cameras or patrol units that kind of look the other way. He finishes writing the full list and hands it over to Kang. Kang skims through it and says, "You're pretty talented, huh?" Then he places his hand on the guy's face, activates a skill, and blows his head up. That also made sure his identity wouldn't be exposed. The members of the Bait Guild had no idea, but someone even worse was on the way. And sure enough, the newspaper would report that the monster had escaped, and a disaster had struck a well-known guild. Well, not really. The guild leader had to use that excuse, so the world could make sense of what happened at their base. The issue is, he was saving that excuse for later, and now he's pissed that he had to waste it. Right at that moment, someone opens the door and says they've got a problem, but gets nailed in the forehead. Actually, it was ashes. The guy took a blast of hot ash to the face. That's enough to give someone a concussion. Yoo Hyun yells, asking why this guy just barged in without warning. The guy says sorry, but tells him that person has returned. The leader asks if he's talking about the one in the mask, and the guy confirms with a nod. The freak who's been messing with their entire guild and already killed over 100 members. Yoo Hyun has no idea who this lunatic even is. The whole place is already falling apart, and now, no matter where he sends people, everyone's dying. That's when he says it's time to stop trying to control a bunch of different locations. They should send everyone into the same dungeon and keep their eyes open. The guy with the bloody forehead nods and says fine, he'll handle it. As the door closes, Yui Hyun falls into thought. 5 days ago, Kang Ham attacked and his body disappeared. 2 days later, some strange figure shows up killing everyone. He felt it back then, and now thinking it over, it's too obvious. Kang Hyun has an accomplice. Someone must have used a skill to extract his corpse, something that steals bodies or hides them. He doesn't have a choice anymore, he's going to have to go all in. He makes a call, and when the person picks up, they ask what Mr. Justice needs help with. And honestly, I've got a feeling it's that weirdo our boy met during training, the one who probably won't want to help once he realizes who it is. Yui Hyun says he needs assistance, and the voice on the other end wants to know who's causing trouble for a powerful guild like his. Besides, what could a fool like him possibly offer? The guy's way richer than Hyun. Yup, nailed it. Knew it'd be him. The guy says he's about to get a damn good fight. Doesn't he like a bit of entertainment? He should know the person he's about to face isn't just some average human. And just like that, called it. Spot on. The crazy bastard says maybe it's worth the risk then. Later that night, at the entrance of a dungeon, the artist and writer are clearly being dramatic by hiding the character's face, but we already know who it is. Yu-sung just says everyone here is a lapdog for Yui Hyun. He wants to know when this so-called powerhouse is going to show up. They better hope that when he gets here, there's an actual fight. Otherwise, they'll be the ones paying for it. One of them's shaking, until suddenly, someone appears in front of them. And look who it is. The moment he sees him, Yu-sung lights up. He can feel it, his sixth sense going wild. Usually, he gets a vague idea of how likely he is to win, but for the first time, his whole body is screaming. If he doesn't want to die, he better run from that monster. But Kang Hyun goes straight to the point and asks what Yu-sung is doing there. Yu-sung recognizes him instantly too and wants to know what his big bro is doing in a place like this. Then he starts piecing it together. So it is him, the one going around wiping out the bait guild? How does this guy always manage to find such fun stuff to do? Kang remembers Lee Hyun saying the bait guild had backing from some rich big shot, and now he's thinking maybe it's Yu-sung behind everything. He presses his sword to the guy's neck and asks straight up if he's with bait. But instead of freaking out, Yu-sung just tells him not to lump him in with that trash. Kang tells him to explain then, and Yu-sung says Kang should know their leader, that scumbag Yui Hyun, the one with no pride who got down on his knees and begged for help. He made him beg for hours before he agreed. I don't know what kind of begging that was, but this is getting weird. Kang says fine, he gets it. So forget it then. Now that there's nothing left to settle, he says he's just going to kill everyone here and be done with it. After that, they can go grab something to eat. Oh boy. But as he turns around, Yu-sung goes in to strike him from behind. Kang blocks it and demands to know what the hell he thinks he's doing. Yu-sung says a quick prayer saying he would have been disappointed if Kang had just walked away like that. Here we go. It's about to pop off. I really thought these two would make it through without a fight. But Yu-sung says he's not holding back just because they know each other. And another one of them, red all over, yells out that he wants Kang to go all out anyway. Titan strength kicks in, Wayne's secret sword technique unleashed. He swings again, but Yu-sung dodges. Then he laughs and says Kang's turning into more of a monster every time they meet. An honest scrap was exactly what he wanted. The problem for Kang, however, was that this whole mess was clearly getting in the way of his plan. His idea was to go into a total killing frenzy and then vanish. But here's another trouble addict, fired up and complaining that it had been too long since he'd had a proper fight. Yu-sung picks up on it immediately, remarking that he can see his big brother is really enjoying himself. At that moment, another poor soul bursts in, shouting that he should just die. The two of them exchange confused glances, while this guy seems to think he's about to become some kind of executive, until he takes a heavy blow to the head and, well, it looks like he might just be done for. Yu-sung still wants to know why that bastard thought it was a good idea to break up their fight. Kang's thinking to himself that by the look of things, Yu-sung really isn't on the side of those other troublemakers. Even so, he never expected that his opponent would actually kill the poor fellow like that. He then holsters his weapon, declaring that this nuisance has completely ruined the mood of the brawl. That fight wasn't very satisfying, so it seems they'll have to have another one soon. But ideally, he wouldn't end up hating this guy any more than he already does. In fact, Kang can only think that he despises this fellow more than anyone imaginable. Then the blonde speaks up, "Brother, do you even know what kind of person Yui Hyun really is? He was the illegitimate son of a guy who owns countless conglomerates. That's why he thinks he can do whatever he likes in this city at any time." Kang fires back that he doesn't care. It's not as if this cad, just because he's loaded, is going to wipe out his family. If he had any doubts, he wouldn't have started all of this, so there's no point in interfering with him for any reason. Yu-sung grabs him and insists that he listen until the end. He doesn't have a clue what our kid is planning, but he wants to be a part of it. He was also itching to wreak havoc on that delinquent's life. The next morning, the poor fool is clutching his head, practically exploding with anger. Another dungeon has been hijacked and a bunch more members have been slaughtered. The worst part is that Yu-sung has cut off contact and he has no idea what the hell happened. His life has been a total disaster lately. Everyone working for him is utterly useless. He's there, fuming and gasping for air, demanding that all the remaining members be brought in immediately since they're supposed to settle this today. The guy tries to explain that they've already lost so many members that gathering any more won't add up to much, but the leader just orders him to get out and bring in whoever he can find. The fellow admits he was holding on to the news, but that most members had fled the guild out of fear of being killed too. Yoon-hyun then declares that fine, they'll just kidnap the parents of everyone who left the guild, threaten them, and before long, everything will be back in order. His companion keeps on insisting, explaining to the boss that the atmosphere just isn't right. No member would agree to it, and it'll only drive him further into madness. At that moment, he gets a call and asks who the damn person pestering him right now is. When he answers, someone says he seems to be in a tight spot. Yoo-hyun recognizes the voice and starts trembling. At the same time, he realizes that this situation could have been easily handled. Meanwhile, on the internet, everyone is celebrating. Now that Bait isn't kidnapping a bunch of dungeons anymore, everyone finally has somewhere to farm. Yoo-sung lags behind our kid, noting that his actions are starting to pay off. In less than a week, the entire vibe has shifted. He replies that it's time to finish things, and the caller wants to know why he's having so much fun. At the same time, he's curious about what the grand finale will be. Kang says that since he's the one in charge, he'll spill the details. He orders the caller to come close so he can reveal the secret, though naturally, none of us will learn a thing. But it's not much of a secret anymore because even the wild-eyed Yoo-sung, instead of getting excited, asks whether he's lost his mind. The leader then receives a message instructing him to head to the Sloopen Forest. That was the only chance he'd give the fool to save his guild. The leader crumples the paper and mutters that this bastard finally wants to face him head-on. Perfect then, today he'll see that villain's face and rip the skin right off his bones. All the guild members are gathered there, though everyone's feeling uneasy, remarking that they really didn't want to be there in the first place. This whole thing was looking more and more like a trap, and even with everyone there, they didn't exactly have numbers on their side. Looking at the few people left, the leader couldn't believe he was about to deal with something this serious using such a pathetic crew. It would have been perfect, easy even, if he could just get that bastard to cooperate. We flash back to that earlier call, the one where the person told him it looked like he was in trouble. The blonde in the chair speaks up, asking if he still needs help with the current situation. Yoon-hyun smiles. This was the perfect opportunity. Since he couldn't count on that traitor Yoo-sung anymore, if this person agreed to help, he was sure everything would be handled. So he responds, saying the timing couldn't be better. If this guy helped clean up the mess, he'd get a wonderful reward, and even his father would support him. But the person on the other end just says that clearly Yoo-hyun still doesn't know his place. And since that's the case, he's changed his mind, he's not getting involved in this mess. The leader's left dumbfounded, unable to understand why the guy suddenly bailed like that. Goodbye. Crushing the paper in his hand, he mutters that this is just another arrogant brat acting like a child. But fine, he'd deal with that one later. For now, he was going to crush this insolent freak and then slowly take revenge on every last one of them. Scenes shift to another part of the city. That same person from the call is speaking, saying it's finally happened. All the remaining Bait members were gathered in one spot. The tattooed guy next to him asks if they're still technically allies, at least publicly, and if Mr. Choi Min-jun isn't planning to send some support. Koi tells him not to worry. There's nothing to gain from helping trash like that. His friend tries to argue, saying that President Jong wouldn't be pleased about this. But then, bam, another blonde gives him a hard look and smacks him right in the mouth. Damn, it's like watching a live football match. He grabs him, lifts him into the air, and tells him he better quit being scared of that damn old man. The poor guy's gasping for air, begging, "I'm gonna die. Let me go." Choi finally drops him on the couch, and the guy collapses, coughing his lungs out. Choi Min-jun turns to leave, saying to just keep doing what they always do and find someone else to back. Cut to the infamous Sloopen Forest, a rank D dungeon. Apparently, it's already been 6 minutes past the scheduled meeting time and the guy hasn't shown. The leader's getting suspicious. There's no way that bastard set up a fake meeting just to make them all come out here like fools. But then the spear-wielding guy tells him to look. Smoke was rolling in from the trees. Of course, it's Kang bringing every single mob from the dungeon along with him. The second Yoo-hyun sees him, he recognizes the bastard. For a moment, he wonders if maybe it's a twin brother or something, but then quickly decides no. There's no way there could be two freaks like that in the world. And from far off, our boy calls out, saying he missed him and hopes he's been doing well. Oh, and you brought a little gift too. A cute little wolf pup. The whole group's blushing at the sight, but you can tell there's definitely something more going on here. Kang tells them to go ahead and take the gift. Someone drops their spear and another guy, totally smitten, says he won't let the little thing get hurt. He picks it up with both arms like it's a baby, giving it a soft look, saying he just saved this precious thing. The rest of the members are blushing too, while the leader's losing his mind, trying to figure out why these idiots are acting like this. Then it hits him. Kang must have kidnapped all the wolf cubs from the dungeon, and now the furious adult wolves were chasing him down. Kang casually tosses out a whole bag of them, saying they're gifts for everyone. The guild members are practically crying, yelling that it's raining cuteness from the sky. But right in the middle of the chaos, Kang flashes forward, slicing through the air with his sword. The wolves leap. The leader immediately throws up a fire barrier. Total mayhem. And Yoo-hyun knows. This is bad. Just dealing with the Darufans alone is hard enough, and now, with Kang slaughtering the players in the middle of it all, there's no way. His only option now is to escape. So he gives the order, everyone, retreat. The very second everyone starts running for the portal, they're shouting that they never want anything to do with this guild ever again. But then, Yoo-sung appears right in front of them, cheerfully greeting the crowd. They freeze for a moment, Then he jumps right into the middle of them and smashes someone across the head. Yep, chaos breaks out in the forest. Now Yu-sung's having a time of his life. From a distance, Yu-hyun spots him and instantly understands why that other lunatic is there. Did he betray him? Nothing was going according to plan anymore, but he still thought there might be a way out. Or maybe he's just desperately looking for one, glancing around in all directions, trying to find a solution. The problem is, these wolves are a nightmare. They go invisible when they attack. But no matter where he looks, there's nothing. No escape, no plan, no option. With no other choice left, it's time to use his final trump card. His hand begins to light up with flame while our boy is over there stabbing people in the mouth. No joke, that's exactly what he's doing. Muttering that these cursed roaches just don't stop coming. That's when Yu-hyun screams out his name. And suddenly, he comes flying in like a human torch, yelling that he's going to wipe them both out right here and now. The skill he's using cranks up his power, but sets his own body on fire in the process. It seriously hurts. Kang blocks the attack, then a massive explosion erupts. Burned and smoking, Yu-hyun gasps that it might have been too much firepower. But still, anyone who takes that should be dead. Except, not always. Because Kang steps right out of the flames and grabs his head. The idiot can't understand how that's even possible. Kang tells him to stop being dramatic. His fire wasn't all that. At most, it was a bit hotter than a regular summer day. Then comes a brutal kick to the stomach. Yu-hyun coughs up blood and gets flung backward, crashing into the side of a wolf. Kang tells him to sit tight and watch, because he's going to be the last member of the guild to die. After everything he did, there's no way he's getting an easy death. Yu-hyun watches the slaughter unfold and starts laughing like a madman. He knows it now. Everything he built, destroyed by Kang Hyun. Our boy's gone completely off the rails, laughing up at the sky like a lunatic. 15 separate panels of him just cackling, the sound echoing through the forest. Evening falls, the forest floor is soaked with blood, littered with corpses and dropped items. And now it's his turn. He's still laughing when Yu-sung walks up and comments on it. Kang asks if it's really a good idea to let him live. He seems to be enjoying some kind of wonderful dream. But Yu-hyun is mentally preparing for the end. Until suddenly, he wonders who exactly is finished here. He changes his mind, says it's not ending like this. No way in hell he's going out like this. He's the illegitimate son of a father who spent his days eating pudding across the city. That's actually how he met his mother, through pudding. His brothers, cousins, everyone were more distant to him than complete strangers. Let's just say it now. If the author thinks we're gonna feel bad for this guy, he's dead wrong. Still, the pudding-loving father supported him, said that even though he was illegitimate, he had talent. But one day, everything changed. The tutorial began. Awakened ones started appearing, dungeons popped up everywhere. The rules of the world shifted. Now power decided how things worked. Yu-hyun starts to deliver his speech, but Kang cuts him off by slicing his throat mid-monologue. He says the guy talks too much. Why do villains always have to go into these massive rants? Yu-sung chuckles and says he should have let him finish. It was just starting to get good. But Kang shrugs it off, says he's not in the mood, thanks him for the help and declares that this mess is over. It's time to go. Yu-sung, though, is still curious. He asks what it feels like finally getting the revenge he'd been planning all this time. Kang scratches his chin and says he's not really sure. So Yu-sung presses, does he feel empty now after killing so many people? And our boy answers without hesitation, hell no. He killed everyone who deserved to die. To him, it was just like when your ears all blocked up and you stick a cotton swab in and pull out a huge chunk. The feeling's incredible, and at the same time, it's a satisfying kind of relief. Yu-sung just tells him it's obvious he's not right in the head. Kang blows on his finger and says they should go ahead and loot all the items from the bodies, split 50-50. But his buddy says he doesn't need the money. So Kang shrugs and says fine, he'll just keep it all for himself then. He's not obsessed with money. After all, he already makes more than enough from the dungeons. But he's realized something. Just money and strength alone aren't enough to keep getting stronger and protect the things that matter to him. If he really wants to secure his place in this world, he needs to form his own faction. As they exit the dungeon, the portal fades behind them. Yu-sung says now it's official. This is over. Kang starts to say he's thinking of founding a guild, but before he can even finish, Yu-sung already says he's joining. Kang tells him he would never invite someone as crazy as him. But Yu-sung replies that even if he doesn't, he's going to join anyway, because it sounds fun. Besides, his intuition tells him that Kang was absolutely going to invite him. Kang tells him to cut it out with that intuition crap and makes it clear he's not letting him in. The two of them walk off still bickering, playfully jabbing at each other. This lunatic Yu-sung, tongue antics aside, is actually a decent guy. Then the scene shifts to a corporate building where someone's shouting that this wasn't what they agreed on. It's the president of the Han Seok group yelling that Choi Min-jun was supposed to be in charge of watching over Yu-hyun. He's talking to Min-jun, who just gives him a blank stare and calmly says he's done everything he could. Too bad he doesn't know what the kid's life is like right now. The president snaps, telling him to stop playing dumb. It's been a week since anyone's had contact with his son, a guild member. It's obvious what happened. Choi Min-jun says he couldn't care less. It was already a miracle that he took that piece of trash and turned him into the leader of a halfway decent guild. If anything, he's done more than enough. The president's completely losing it, and suddenly commands everyone in the room to attack Min-jun. And yeah, They all rush him. But Minjun just gives a little wink, and in a flash, his Tokyo ghoul-like power grabs everyone by the throat. He calmly stands up, walks straight to the president, and says their deal has already been made. He's holding up his end without any issue, so why is the president suddenly trying to change the plan? Then he warns, if the president dares to order another attack like that, next time he won't let it slide. The guy's practically shaking now, apologizing in a panic. Minjun accepts the apology, lets everyone drop to the floor, and walks out, saying it's good to know their agreement still stands. But there's one thing he's still curious about. Who exactly was it that killed Jung Yui-hyun? And just like that, the Bait Guild vanished from existence. But it was a huge organization with tons of members, so its sudden disappearance caused a wave of rumors. Online, everything turned into a mess. But little by little, the name Guild Bait faded away. Just one more among the many that had risen and fallen. Now we're in a cozy little Japanese-style house where our dynamic duo is chilling. They're saying they'll be fine here. No one's going to find them. That's because all the loot had already been sold off through some special connections, and now they're just taking it easy. Yusung says everything worked out perfectly, so why does Kang look so bummed? Kang says it's because he earned a title that makes no sense. Relentless Homewrecker. It's a title only given to someone who shattered the lives and hopes of countless families without mercy. +2 strength, increased hostility from Durufins, and causes instinctive fear in almost everyone nearby. And now that he's thinking about it, he realizes when he brought those little cubs he stole from the wolves. In the end, the wolves died, didn't they? So yeah, he really did kill all those little creatures. And the worst part, even unequipped, that title still applies at half strength, which means now he's even scarier than before. He slams his hand on the table, saying it was already hard enough to live looking the way he does. Yusung tells him to calm down. Nobody liked him before and nobody's gonna like him now, so what's really changed? Right then he gets a call from Mr. Lee Hyun of the Dangan Guild, who wastes no time and immediately asks if he remembers the promise they made. Kang has absolutely no clue what he's talking about. Hyun says he figured as much, but now the orders come in. It's time to meet the guild master, and you better show up as soon as possible. We jump to the Dangan Guild 12th floor. Kang asks if it's really okay, even if he brings along this weird thing with him. Lee Hyun says it's fine. The guild master agreed. Yusung tells him to stop calling him things seriously, and anyway, he already knows the guild master. They're pretty close. Kang raises an eyebrow. How close? Yusung says that one time at a party he saw her there. Kang's already figured it out. Just a bunch of rich kids from the same high society circle. No wonder they'd met. At the door now, Lee Hyun knocks. The boss lady tells them to come in. As Kang steps into the room and glances around, finally, we meet a girl drawn who isn't his sister. She introduces herself as Han San, the guild master of Dangan. Kang greets her, and she says she's heard a lot about him. Lee Hyun heads out, telling them to feel at ease. She offers him a seat, and he thanks her for the help they gave him. She replies that it's fine. It wasn't that difficult. Kang doesn't waste time. He says he doesn't like owing anyone, so what does she want? She asks if he wants to skip straight to business, and he answers that they're both busy people. Look at this guy now, a businessman, huh? She smiles awkwardly and says she was going to serve him tea first, but okay, fine. If that's how it is, she won't hold back. And of course, exactly what you'd expect, she offers him a spot in the Dangan Guild. And exactly as expected, he rejects it instantly. She replies with a calm, okay. Yusung jumps in to break the awkward silence, saying Kang answered a little too fast. He could have at least pretended to think about it, but Seiyan says it's fine. It's better to see that he declines sincerely. Still, Kang insists. He wants to repay her somehow. She can reach out anytime and he'll try to help however he can. She agrees it's always good to have someone that's strong owe you a favor. If they ever need anything, they'll be in touch. But Kang finds that hard to believe. A top-tier guild like theirs needing something from him. That's when she asks how long he thinks this current peace will last. He gets it right away. Ever since dungeons started appearing, crime has only been getting worse. And if she's calling this chaotic situation peace, then it means she knows about the 8th stage. He says he doesn't know the full picture either, but worrying won't fix anything. The only thing he can do is keep getting stronger. Besides, that dimension is going to take 5 years, right? But she corrects him. He's wrong. In just 3 years, most countries will already be struggling to survive. He asks how she could possibly know something like that. She says she can't give details, but then immediately gives the details. They have an awakened who can communicate with an entity that knows what's coming. I mean, if that's not giving details, okay then. Kang figures this entity is probably the administrator or something similar. She then asks if he hasn't noticed how dungeon difficulty keeps increasing, while the Awakened aren't growing fast enough to keep up. But Kang obviously hasn't noticed, because, well, he's always solo, and he always wins. Yusung explains that Awakened get stronger the more danger they face. That's why using guns doesn't help at all. On the other hand, hunting with beasts or using a bow and arrows strangely grants experience. The guild leader says that much is already clear. The only people who actually have a chance at saving the world are the truly awakened and fearless ones. And in a world like this, the crazy boy right there, he's a hero. But he tells her to think again. He's not a good person and definitely not some kind of hero. He's the guy who went out and wiped the entire Bait Guild. She, being totally unfazed, says she doesn't care about that bunch of garbage. People like that didn't help humanity survive in any way. so obviously they didn't deserve protection or pity. She even adds that one decent guy like him is worth more than 100 trash like them. Not long after, Hyun walks into the room and tells her he's already put the two of them in the car. Then he wants to know what she thought when she saw him in person. She smirks and says he definitely exceeded her expectations. He asks if she really means that, and she says yes. For a moment, when she mentioned the administrator, she could see it in his eyes. She's sure he also graduated from the tutorial. Yeah, well, that's not exactly a secret at this point. The guy literally wiped out an entire guild. Now we jump to a city where the main gate is locked down tight. The difference between a rank E and a rank D dungeon might just be one letter, but in reality, the strength of the monsters inside is massively different. Not to mention another big issue, the sheer variety and number of creatures that can show up. Right now, our guy's walking through that chaos, mowing down monsters left and right. Honestly, it's kind of a pain having to deal with so many different enemies. In a normal D-rank orc dungeon, it's simple. There's an orc, a warrior orc, and a giant warrior orc. But what's standing in front of him now is some weird chimera orc. It looks all messed up with goblin features on an orc's body, like the proportions are completely wrong. The head even kinda looks like a goblin's, but it's not hitting right at all. He jokingly invites the monster to join his guild. Obviously, the creature just raises its hammer and slams it into the ground. Kang dodges and says if the guy didn't want to join, he could have just said so. Mid-air, though, the monster fires off a spit attack. Kang forms a spell in his hand, scatters the attack, and lands behind it. The spit, of course, was acidic. He notices that not only does the thing have heavy armor, but it's also way heavier than it looks. Still, that's fine. He's a natural strategist, someone who can come up with complicated plans in seconds. In today's brilliant strategy, steal the monster's hammer and beat it with its own weapon. Meanwhile, in another part of the dungeon, a group of people are talking about all the monster howls they're hearing. One of them guesses it's probably someone out hunting. The other says to focus on what's in front of them. They're all surrounding a girl. Seems like the perfect setup for a rescue scene by our protagonist. Classic Chad move. Too bad he's completely unhinged, she's probably gonna be terrified. Then they hear a weird dragging noise echoing through the dungeon. Of course it's Kang, hauling the boss's giant weapon behind him. Everyone turns around and he says he's picking up a strange scent. Smells like the kind of criminals who enjoy being killed. The group hasn't realized what's happening yet. They're still trying to figure out who the hell this lunatic is. But he lifts the hammer and just pulling it up makes it smash into the ceiling. The group flinches and tries to brace themselves, watching him totally unsure of what's about to happen. Who is this psycho who doesn't even know how to use a weapon properly? Then, while the hammer's still lodged up there, he yanks it down, dragging stone and debris with it, and slams it straight into the middle of them. Kang dusts off his hands. He says it's a shame, but that thing probably wouldn't have been worth keeping as a main weapon anyway. He decides to stash it in his inventory while still staring down the rest of the group. One of the guys says he doesn't know what that kid's doing here, but clearly he doesn't understand the situation. He leaps forward to attack, saying putting away your weapon right in front of everyone was insane. But Kang just smacks him on the head without a care. The guy's face turns purple and he drops unconscious. Kang grabs the leader by the hair, puts a knife to his throat, and tells the rest of those filthy criminals to hand over everything they've got. The way he says it is already bizarre, but immediately they all charge at him like lunatics. Our guy looks a little disappointed. His hostage didn't work. Apparently, no one gave a damn about that guy. He asks, "What's your name, you bastard?" "It's Kim Cusick, sir." "Alright then, Cusick," he says, and then crushes the guy's family jewels. Yep, he grabs him by the crotch and starts using him like a weapon, swinging him around like an airplane and smacking people with him. While one guy's already broken and another is passed out cold, Kang challenges the rest, saying, "Come on then, this here's my new weapon, Cusick." Someone's holding a sword, clearly realizing he's dealing with a maniac, and tells him not to get any closer. But nope, Kang charges again and wipes out the whole crew. In the background, the poor girl is standing there confused, watching the madness unfold. Kang looks kind of disappointed it took him longer than usual to deal with these guys. For a ranked D group, that should have been quicker. Then someone calls out to him from behind. It's the girl, thanking him for saving her. Thanks to him, she avoided a horrible fate. He tells her not to thank him too much. Beating those guys up was actually a lot of fun. She can lift her head. She stands up straight, looking stunning, and introduces herself as Shin Sung-ah. Then she asks for his name. He turns red instantly. You can tell his weakness is clearly women, and says she doesn't have to be so formal, but his name's Kang Hyun. She places a hand over her chest and asks how she can become as strong as him. He looks a little unsure of how to answer. And strangely enough, this is when the story says the two biggest troublemakers in all of Korea first joined forces. Now it's unclear if she's already insane or if she'll end up that way. Of course, Kang tells her that to get strong, she's got to try really hard. That's the secret. She asks if he means hard work, and he says, not exactly. She has to be willing to die for what she wants, literally. The poor girl is clearly confused. He realizes she doesn't fully get the point. That method of leveling up by nearly dying only works for him, since he's immortal. He's already thinking that on his way back he better watch out, or he'll end up running into more people like those guys. But just as he's about to leave, he turns back and asks if she'll be able to get out on her own. She says no. He finds that odd. Normally, someone would have asked for help, but she just stood there quietly. So he tells her that while he'd like to help, he can't leave yet. He still needs to finish the dungeon. She says that's fine and asks if she can tag along. Kang, confused, tells her not to take that willing to die stuff so seriously. She should forget it and focus on getting out. But she insists it's not because of that. She knows her place. She promises to follow quietly like a ghost, won't take any mana stones, and swears not to cause any trouble. He warns her it'll be really dangerous. She says she can take care of herself. All right then, you can follow Missy. Let's go. Now he's wiping his blade after finishing off another group of monsters. She compliments him and says she'll collect the mana stones for him. She gets right to work, carrying through a monster and tossing the stones into his inventory. He starts to realize she's actually not bad. She really can handle herself. She seems to have some kind of stealth skill, because every time combat starts, her presence just vanishes. But every now and then, a perfect arrow flies by from nowhere. Even better, she's collecting mana stones, something he usually doesn't care about, but hey, in the end, it's some extra cash. He asks her what she wants to do since he can feel a strong energy coming from nearby. Most likely the boss is just past the next room. She answers without hesitation. She's already made up her mind. She's following him to the end. But right then, screens pop up in front of both of them, saying that the dungeon core has been destroyed and the portal is now open. He's confused, wondering if someone else cleared it before him. But suddenly, he realizes that's not the case. He can still feel the boss's presence, which means it's actually way worse than someone clearing it. Yep, it's a dungeon break. And not just any dungeon break. This is the first D-rank 1 in all of Korea. Meanwhile, the news is going wild, reporting that 10 dungeons broke at the same time. Experts are already suspecting some kind of coordinated terrorist attack based on the data they're analyzing. A guy rushes down a hallway, bursts into a room, and calls for the president. That guy's name is Choi Dong-woo, and he says he's already prepared. The man who entered tells him that one of the dungeons that broke was D-rank. Choi immediately asks for the location, and when he hears it, his expression darkens. It's one of the worst possible ones. That's because it's the dungeon they've been struggling with for ages, and no one's been able to clear it. The guy asks if there are any guilds nearby that could help, but the only one close enough, Hangyo, apparently went on vacation overseas. Choi tells him to gather 50 elite members. No matter what, they'll have to handle this themselves. Back at the Dangan Guild, the guild master steps out, looking elegant as always. She asks what's going on, and Lee Hyun brings her up to speed. She hears about the D-rank dungeon and knows immediately that if things continue like this, a lot of people are going to die. Lee Hyun says it's going to be tough. The only guild nearby is Hangyul's, but they're unavailable. She's clearly shaken, but he mentions that there's apparently one awakened individual down there who's taking out tons of monsters. She asks how one person is even managing that. He laughs and says it's some tough guy with a massive sword and a face scarier than the monsters. She smiles instantly. If it's that guy, then there's nothing to worry about. And in the middle of the city, there they are. Our boys, soaked in blood, standing on a mountain of corpses. Everyone's gathered around, completely stunned that one person handled all that on his own. That's the power of a true awakened. The blonde guy thanks him, saying it's because of him that they all survived. Kang just tells them to hurry up and get out of there before people start dying. They're confused. He's clearly handling everything. But Kang has already realized something. The portal hasn't closed. That means the boss is still inside. He tells everyone that if they stick around, they're going to die and he won't be able to protect them. The blonde guy keeps pushing, trying to act like a fellow awakened, saying they should stick together. Kang just asks one question. How many Kimras have you killed? The guy hesitates, which is all Kang needs to know. Clearly, he hasn't taken down even one. His presence is just going to get in the way. So Kang tells him to leave and go help civilians evacuate. The hunters standing around don't take it well. They think he's being arrogant. But after one look at him, bloodied and biting back rage, they realize maybe it's best to listen. Suddenly, everyone bolts, running for their lives. Except for her, she's still standing there, not sure what to do. But Kang trusts her. He turns and asks if she can handle it or not. He's counting on her to cover him, so she better find a good place to hide. She's clearly surprised that he trusts her, just like we are, and quickly says yes. Then the gate starts cracking. A massive armored foot stomps out, and here they come. Creatures with tiger heads, chimera monstrosities standing right in front of him. These were supposed to be the 4 heavenly kings, but only 3 showed up. Each one of them is as strong as that ogre Kang struggled so hard to beat on his own. And the worst part, the boss hasn't even arrived yet, and now he's coming. No, it's not Ains, but it sure looks like him. It's a towering skeleton draped in robes. The creature speaks, commenting that the monsters in this place are just as bizarre as its architecture. It looks at our boy, calls out to the human, and asks if he really intends to put an end to all of this on his own. Kang, already pulling his weapon from the inventory, replies that he got it right. The guy pulls out that massive hammer and slams the first enemy, declaring that every single one of their heads is going to get smashed. The skeleton says he's never seen a human so arrogant, but the boy's body looked useful. He might just put it to use. Kang tries throwing a little bait since the thing talks so much and asks what the boss thinks about a one-on-one fight, leaving the minions out of it. Obviously, the skeleton just scoffs, spits in his hand, and says he figured as much. He lifts the hammer and says, "Let's get started then," and it's on. The four heavenly kings charge in and Kang lets out the lion's roar. The creatures are hit by the effect as he leaps forward to land the first blow. He slams his hammer down right on one of their skulls, saying this one's head will be the first to pop, and he doesn't stop. He keeps swinging until it looks like the thing's dead for real. The skeleton watches, confused. He can't sense any mana coming from the kid, so where the hell is that raw power coming from? Honestly, it'd be a waste to kill someone like him. Maybe he should keep the boy alive and use him as a servant. But while he's lost in thought, the orc's helmet cracks and falls off. The only problem is, Kang's legs are shaky, and he's clearly running out of strength. That damn weapon's way too heavy. The skeleton stretches out his hand and activates a mind control spell. The attack seems to take effect. Green flashes light up in Kang's pupils. Right away, the boss thinks it worked, and now the human is under his control. He welcomes his new servant and tells him to kneel and swear loyalty. Kang pretends to obey, then flips him off right in the face, telling him to screw off. Obviously, that mental resistance ring of his blocked the whole thing. The skeleton realizes an item is protecting him and says it's a shame. He really wanted the boy in one piece. Right at that moment, the tiger charges at him and Kang activates Antreus' skill. His whole body turns to stone, he gets slammed hard and crashes into the pillar behind him. Two monsters close in, but suddenly, an arrow lands square in one of their heads. The skeleton realizes the boy has backup, but seeing his tiger still intact, he figures it's nothing to worry about. Kang, though, just laughs and praises Shin Suna, telling her timing was perfect. That 1 second she gave him was just what he needed to get back up and charge the tiger. And he's got just the thing for this. He aims straight at the arrow sticking out. The hammer hits it dead on, driving it right into the tiger's brain. The thing collapses. But then, bam, a hit goes straight through Kang. No dodging, no blocking, he took it full force. Even so, he uses the fact that the damn thing is right up in his face, grabs its arm and slams it into the ground. Then he pulls a sword from his inventory and drives it right into this serpent-like one coming at him. Another clean hit. With his sword soaked in blood, Kang looks back and says, now all that's left is cue ball. The boss tells him to quit bluffing. Someone with 0 mana left isn't going to beat him. And it looks like he's right. Kang realizes the bastard's caught on. He's got no mana left after fighting off those 3 freaks, and his regeneration's already at the limit. To make it worse, he can't even land a proper hit on that floating skeleton. His legs are trembling with no strength, and he tries to climb the ruins nearby. But his attacks won't seal anything now. Then, bam, his heart tightens. He's hunched over, coughing up blood, stumbling over monster corpses, collapsing like trash. The skeleton says the effects finally kicked in. That blow that landed square in Kang's chest. Yeah, of course, it wasn't just any ordinary hit. The second his body was breached, there was no reason he wouldn't have been poisoned. Now that the kid's death is pretty much guaranteed, the only thing left for him to do is surrender, become a slave, and receive the antidote. But Kang tells him to screw off again and says he's gonna turn that ugly skull of his into a 3D puzzle. He focuses hard, using what little power he has left and just a bit of mana to try to purge the poison. His last resort is the ability from the Bilging sword, Berserk. It boosts his resistance by 1.5 times. The downside is that it makes his decision-making dumb as hell, and it comes with some brutal side effects afterward. Even so, he shouts for that bastard to come at him, saying they'll both head to the afterlife together. But just then, a voice says he's done enough. Kang turns his head and sees someone arriving. Choi Dong-woo, president of the Hunter Association, and judging by his entrance, he's no pushover. He says the kid's got talent, but from here on, he'll handle things. Kang looks surprised. This guy, he's a tutorial graduate, right? Cleared it first try without even dying once. The man tells him to rest. It looks like he's seriously injured. Kang tries to say he can still fight, but right then, the pain hits hard and he drops to his knees. He's frustrated. He was this close to finishing the fight, but of course that bastard had to show up right after he triggered the skill. And with that, boom, he passes out. Now he's waking up in an actual hospital.